Hollywood, one of their jobs is to fictionalize reality. So take something that's true and make a movie out of it so that the world anchors to it as fake.
Kubrick put in his final will that he filmed the moon landing?
After Eyes Wide Shut, that he mysteriously died within like 3 weeks. Part of the brainwashing is they bring the satanic stuff in, so they drug the crap out of you and they torture you. They dress people up as demons and stuff to just melt your brain like there's no tomorrow. They split you into a dozen personalities and then they reassemble you. What if AI is building the machine for this evil force to occupy? Oh, fuck. Oh, dearie me, that's not good.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Rice Report. This is going to be so much fun. I'm here with one of my favorite guests, one of the coolest people you'll find on the internet, diverse in everything that you will find. We're going to go into many different rabbit holes, I assume. We have no idea where we're going. This is just open conversation here today with Dave Collum. Dave, thank you so much for being on here again. I appreciate you being here. And I have no idea where we're going with this conversation, but it's going to be fun. And we're probably going to laugh a lot. So welcome back.
We just did a half-hour stand-up prior to recording. Yeah, I have no idea where I'm going either. I have a kind of an intellectual Tourette syndrome.
Oh, it makes two of us. It's perfect.
These outbursts of ideas. I go, oh, where'd that come from? So, yeah.
Well, congratulations. Great interview on Tucker recently. That was awesome. Good seeing you on there.
I appreciate it. And I pissed off the right people. So that was good.
Yeah, no, that's always the desired effect at the end. Right. A lot of interesting things in that conversation. It went all different directions, World War II, all over the place. But it was just great seeing you on there. It's great seeing him bringing on normal guests and not your traditional conservative, I guess, meal ticket of guests.
He's pretty good at bringing on opposing team. Even when he was at Fox, he was more than happy to bring them on. There were times where he sort of beat them around the face and neck.
Yeah.
But he was always willing to have one of the most brilliant interviews he did recently was with Anna Kasparian.
Yeah. Where
she reluctantly went on, and they're now best buddies.
Yeah.
And that shows something very important. There was deep meaning in that. And Anna Kasparian is now a big Tucker fan. And so when the Young Turk, it's almost diverted the Young Turks in a new direction.
Yeah, when that show first launched, I think they were filming in the Peninsula in LA, and I was there for something else, and they were like, you should go on this show, and I've never heard of it before. And I watched like 30 minutes of it. I'm like, I'm good. No, thanks. I think I'd go on there now. I think it's just completely different. It's turned around. Foreign policy has a habit, bad foreign policy has a habit of turning people to the other direction.
Yeah, Shank supposedly was a Shank. How do you pronounce it? Sank?
I have no idea. That was the only half hour I've ever watched.
The Arab guy, he was said to be a Republican when he was younger, and then he turned lefty. And then Kasparian got tired of. Someone made reference to becoming a prisoner of your followers.
Yeah.
And I think that's a fundamental concept to say, look, if you are no longer talking about stuff because you're followers. Let's say you're a Bitcoin guy, and all of a sudden you invite a gold guy in, and your followers get mad at you.
Hence today.
Oh, don't do that again, right? So you brought a pagan on your show, so you're already bucking the trend. A pagan with a noisy sword. But it is important to recognize, and you can imagine journalists, for example, where they so quickly get in tight with their sources that they no longer can report on them.
Yeah, it's an echo chamber. It becomes, and that's one thing I have made it very clear from the beginning. I love gold and Bitcoin, so like I don't have any like people who are looking at me strange. I'm assuming, because I think they're both hand in hand. One's the old version, one's the new version, one's here, one's coming. And I think that's inevitable. But let's talk about gold. Let's talk about the last couple of days been bad. They've been bad, but it doesn't really matter when you have a 140% run up in a 12-month period. That's the thing people don't notice. Like, oh, you lost 8%. Well, we're up 140 over the last 12 months.
Yeah. My risk assets, if I take away my house, which I have to call an asset because it's 3 times more expensive than what I needed. So it was a decision. It's on a lake. It hangs off a cliff. The view alone costs a lot of money. It's beautiful, and looks west over Cuba Lake. So I have to count that as an asset. If you take away fixed income, which you know how much I'm making on that.
Yep.
my risk assets at one point were up 65% year to date, right? And so, yeah, I can afford to lose a few bucks here.
Yeah.
But I lost many units of value yesterday. I think it was. I don't remember. I was crawling around the floor, looking eye to eye with Doug Murray and Jimmy Kimmel and Sam. What's his name? Having been beaten down, Colbert. Yeah, I can take quite a beating before the year's actually a problem.
Yeah, I mean, it's a massive run up, but I want to talk about the paper markets and something you've talked about quite a bit. And you don't see an 8% dip in hard assets that are held in custody. That's being done in the paper markets.
Right.
I've been seeing 50 and 100x leverage on gold. That's altcoin stuff. I mean, people have gotten overly bullish.
That's fart coin, right?
Yeah. That's extreme risk.
Well, supposedly the first smackdown, which again, it's a little blurry because I got a concussion. The first smackdown, supposedly, I saw the volume on it was spectacular, and I think it was Craig Hemke said it was almost 1 billion ounces sold in the wee hours of the morning when there's no buyers, right? So someone had a reason to push the price down. I've never quite understood that dynamic because presumably you got to buy it back,
right?
So it did look like a classic bear raid. Gold had gone supernova, so I remember when I had silver and it was marching its way up to 50, and I remember being exuberant day after day after day. It marched up a buck. It just was banging away, and I remember feeling smug. And then it rolled over, and one of the guys on the chat board I was on counted it down $1 a day, and I'm going, okay, I got the message. I got it. Stop. Let up on me, that sort of thing. I think it went down to 11 or something after that before it came back.
And it stayed there for decades.
I just saw a Hugh Hendry post, which was inexcusably ignorant for Hugh. And I think he knows it, right? It wasn't ignorant. Hugh was being a punk. But he made some reference to gold have no place in a fiat system. Fine, have your opinion. Sure. But then the comparison he made it to was $20 gold in 1932 to the present versus an investment of $20 in the S&P in 1932 to the present. I couldn't resist. I said, Hugh, your start and end point happen to include a 25 to 30-fold increase in valuation.
Yeah.
And so I said, if you had picked 1929 to 81, you would have gotten a different story on those two comparisons, right?
Huge difference.
Huge, enormous difference. And one of the things that pinged me where I sort of dug into the weeds was because he said it gave an 11.94% return. And I wasn't even paying attention. I go, where is this? And then I looked at his start point and I go, oh, yeah, that's how he did it. That gets gutted pretty fast when you divide by 25.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And Buffett's sort of estimated in perpetuity return of markets is 4%.
I would say that's accurate.
And an inflation adjusted S&P back 100 years by Ron Grice, if you look at just capital gains, it's actually negative. If you correct for inflation using M2. So it's actually got a slight downward slope. So we'll call it even. If you do a total return analysis, which he also does, and he sends them to me because he knows I like them, and it comes out to 3.79% annualized for 100 years, which I'll call 4 and say Buffett and he agree.
Yeah.
Now, they don't include taxes.
God, I hate that word, Dave. I hate that word.
But it exists. And by the way, my very expensive house, taxes are going up 20%. I live in New York. This is a holy shit. My wife wanted to move, and I said, Kenneth, let's TO this one. first and foremost, it's expensive to move, right? I mean, it's not just you have to buy a new house, but you end up doing some renovations. And I said, you're not going to save any money by moving.
No.
And by the way, she's pretty brittle at this point in her life, and she couldn't pack up a house again. I go, we're here, we're stuck. We're stuck in this utopian existence at 20% more taxes than we thought.
Great place to be stuck.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Can you have two of those mugs? You had a white one earlier. Now you have a blue one?
It's a magic trick.
You got calf and decaf over there? You mixing it up? What are you doing here?
Yeah, I got a second one in case I needed it.
You may, because we are. I saw another super ignorant post the other day, and there's a lot of people doing it. Clickbait's a real thing. You gotta quit reading my posts. That's the secret. Well, I'm gonna get into your passport post in a minute because that was funny.
That was funnier than crap, wasn't
funny,
it?
Yeah.
Oh my God, was that funny? Holy shit.
But you made redemption, unlike most people, where you came back and said, I missed this one. I missed it.
And it only took about 20 seconds to figure out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was like the worst Photoshop in the history of the world.
Right. As soon as I looked at the picture, I go, oh, my God. That's funny. And then, well, we should either talk about it or not, but it was really funny. And then Twitter screwed it up by putting a reader's correction under it. I'm going, oh, come on, you blew it.
Yeah, I saw one the other day that said gold is the best returning asset over the last decade, and I'm like, did you just forget Bitcoin? Did you just leave it out of the equation?
It's not an asset unless you own it.
It's absolutely.
So I one time said a bull market is a market that's gone way up that you own, and a bubble is a market that's gone way up that you don't own.
That's right. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And so right now for me, Bitcoin's a bubble. Gold's a bull market.
So the strange thing is platinum. So platinum and silver are both raking it in right now, and both of them are basically industrial at this point. There is preciousness left to them. Oh. Now he's got rum in there. There we go. It's an Irish coffee morning.
And I get one from each mug.
You got to get the tubes. You put it on the hard hat. You get the tubes running in.
Beer hat. Yeah.
Greatest invention of the 80s, by the way. That was out of all the things that came out of the 80s, nothing was better than the beer mug.
Disco. Come on, disco.
Hey. I was young, so I would have been a punk rock guy in those days.
I hated disco. Oh, did I hate disco? Oh.
I would have been a punker. I'm pretty sure of that if I lived in that time. Well, I did live, but if I was old enough to actually live. And
you did live.
Yeah, I was just in kindergarten or something.
Well, you were probably a punk.
Absolutely. Yeah. I still love punk. I still love the idea of punk, but the idea of punk has gotten punked. Like our punks today, like look at Green Day, Rage Against the Machine. These guys were all, the modern punk rockers. And then in 2021, their songs changed to get the jab. Like what happened to punk? We have no punk left anymore. No. None.
Since you like music, I have a book for you. You want to read it. It's called Weird Scenes in the Canyon. I bet you've read it.
No, I haven't.
This one for you. This is perfect. Weird Scenes in the Canyon is a story of the rise of the rock movement.
Interesting.
And it's about Laurel Canyon.
I imagine, yeah.
And then you find out at the top of Laurel Canyon is a CIA headquarters.
Yep.
And then you find out that all these famous musicians like Crosby, Stills, Nash, Young, you name it, they were all offspring of deep state military intelligence guys.
100%.
And Crosby didn't even know how to play. And apparently he sucked so bad that when they made the documentary about Woodstock, they had to dub it. It was that bad at Woodstock. But they were all like Frank Zappa. After Frank Zappa hated hippies.
Yeah.
He really hated the hippies. And then after he was doing that shit, he ended working for the Bank of International Settlements. I'm going, holy shit. So weird scenes and a lot of unusual deaths and stuff. And the punchline is that my wife lived in the canyon from 77 to 79. And I'm thinking, oh, I wonder if she's weird.
Is she bugged?
Well, she was a hippie. She knew Joan Baez and she knew Huey Lewis and some guys like that. And so she did Ricky Jay, you know, the magician, Ricky Jay.
Mm-hmm.
He's the magician's magician. He's the guy who the magicians say is the very best.
Yeah.
And he can do shit that other magicians couldn't do. And
a mainstay at the Magic Castle in LA for a long time.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
And he and a scholar of magic too. And he was in Boogie Nights, the movie.
Yep.
And he was a terrible actor, just a terrible actor. You know, one of these guys who plays himself, sort of, and you're going, oh no, stay with magic. But Ricky Jay's apartment would be covered with cards because he spent all day just fiddling with cards, and the floor was just covered with cards, and he just spent the whole time manipulating cards.
The illusionists are an interesting crowd of people,
Right.
to say the least. But the fascinating thing is, I want to read this, but what is it called again? So I have it written down right.
Strange Scenes in the Canyon.
Strange Scenes in the Canyon. So I lived by Laurel Canyon for years. It's a weird place. It's a nice little nook in the world. It's pretty, you know, it's nice and pretty.
Well, there's tunnels underneath the houses.
Oh yeah, that connect to each house, that connect into further areas.
Isn't that odd? What could that
Getty
ever
Center.
mean, right? What could that ever mean, right?
Who could imagine? That book will open the eyes of my generation, who the younger generation is now realizing that all of the hip hop stars are feds too. Yeah, even hip hop was created by the CIA. Ice Cube came out and said that. He said that they had a handler for all their recordings. Yeah.
I did not. Ice Cube's interesting. Ice Cube's really interesting.
He is. Well, all these guys are part of the club though, so they're given disclosure, right? Let's tell them this and throw them off kilter. It's just we live in this world of you're either cattle or a rancher.
Matrix.
Yeah.
Matrix.
Yeah.
The Matrix metaphor really worked. By the way, I have this passing thought that Hollywood, one of their jobs is to fictionalize reality. So take something that's true and make a movie out of it so that the world anchors to it as fake. So like Born Identity, right? There's a perfect example, right? That's MK Ultra, head to toe. But that's a documentary.
Yeah.
I mean, but they make Eyes Wide Shut, right?
One of the more interesting stories. Yeah.
Right. And so I think they do that. I think they're charged with basically disarming the story.
Yeah.
By telling it as a fictional story.
Yeah, because eventually the story gets out, and then you can point to and go, "Oh, you guys are just way into movies. You're just too into movies. You watch too much."
Yeah,
TV.
Right.
The old
I'm still
thing.
trying to figure out if we went to Mars and we left Matt Damon up there, but.
Well, didn't Kubrick put in his final will that he filmed the moon landing? That's not fiction.
I think he did. I think he did. He also, I think it was after Eyes Wide Shut. That he mysteriously died within like 3 weeks.
7 days. So the interesting thing is that they gave him full
You're way
creative
too knowledgeable. You're way too knowledgeable.
They gave him full creative right for the film. He made the film. It had a private screening. At that private screening,
and then they killed him.
Well, they mysteriously removed 33 minutes of the film before releasing it from his original cut, and then 7 days later he was dead, and that's when his final will and testament came out of him saying he filmed the moon landing.
And so, do you remember where this satanic cult film was shot? It was in the Rothschilds' castle.
Yes.
Where they had been banging children for eons.
And the reason they do this is stealing of innocence. Like that, I think we talked about that last time.
I know, it's horrifying.
It's gross. But the interesting thing is that the Rothschilds get all this play of like the Rothschilds run the world. Go to the Encyclopedia Judaica, the Jewish encyclopedia. Look up Rothschild.
Oh, I read that every day.
Yeah. Well, you'll find out that they are the guardians of the papal treasure. Really? That the Rothschilds actually manage the Vatican wealth. Like it's in the encyclopedia. They're not hiding it. That's a
well, I've been trying to figure out how to understand the Vatican. It's not easy. I mean, I read Operation Gladio, and it seemed kind of shallow to me in terms of the Vatican's role. They treat them as bankers, just bankers. And I'm going, there's more to that than bankers. Thank you very much. One of my colleagues at Cornell came out of the Vatican. Like I was on a Zoom call with Carlo Vigano.
Yeah.
And he was spilling his guts, and then they excommunicated him.
Yeah, and that happens. That happens from time to time. You
get
someone, yeah, you get someone there. I mean, Martin Luther did the same thing in the Protestant Reformation, and that I'm not going to talk about in this episode. But I would, if you want to do a dig, I would go back to that. I would go back to the Protestant Reformation and read the Reformers' documents, and it'll help you understand. Excuse me. It'll help you understand the Vatican a lot better. It'll help you understand it a lot better. Understanding that, like, if you go back to we have this big push, and it's true, like the Jews do this, Jews do that. It's true. But if you look throughout history, the Jews were non-existent for 1,800 years. They just didn't have any power, kicked out of countries. Jesuits were kicked out of just as many countries. But you'll find that during that time of the Reformation, that's when this exposure came out, identifying them as the beast of Revelation, the little horn prophecy of Daniel accurately. Like, it's undeniable that is there. No one knows about this anymore. Like, that period of history has been buried. But if you look back at banking, which is what Jews are credited for, that actually began with the Knights Templar after the Crusades.
Okay. I thought it began more at time of Christ.
Well, I'm talking more about investment banking than depository banking.
Okay.
When you talk about banks making money, and then it goes back to the Knights of Malta, who still run banking. I mean, it's still there.
The joke I like to make is here are the Gentiles who think they're king of the world, and they hand the Jews the task of banking. The Jews are smart enough to go, we're up with that.
Yeah, we'll do it.
We'll do it. Yeah. It's a dirty job. Mike Rowe, eat your heart out. Someone's got to do it. And I'm going, how do you blame the Jews for owning the banking system when they were the only smart enough to recognize that it was a good career path?
And they were handed it, right? They were handed it. Here you go. You run the banking. You take the beatings for what's to come.
But it complicates any discussion of history, because you always end up back at bankers. They always end up being Jewish. And so you cannot talk about it without someone whipping the anti-Semite card onto your sorry ass fast.
Which means nothing anymore. Like,
but when they're beating you with it, you still feel it.
Yeah.
And which I've learned fairly recently.
You have learned that I've been learning that lesson for a few years now, and it just doesn't impact me anymore, because I don't get out of anything I can't prove.
Well, what impacts me is I don't want to be a problem for my colleagues for Cornell.
Understandable.
That's where it impacts me, because I'm tied to an organization. If it was just me, you would, it's like you get dumped by a girl, and it hurts like hell. And the next time you go, oh, there's no way I'm letting the pain hit me like that one again.
Yeah.
Right. And so you go, okay, yeah, go ahead, take a hike. That other guy's better for you anyways. And so, I got canceled in 2020, and there was a certain intensity to it. And now it's like, go ahead, cancel me. I've been canceled impressively. Now you can't do it now. I know what to do. You just sit there and smirk.
What else can you do? Right?
No,
like, our lives are so much bigger than a moment, like, or a year. Like, I look back at my life and, like, that was a tough year, but it feels like 5 minutes when it's over with.
Well, then there's the movie with Brendan Fraser and Joe Pesci, where Joe's a bum and Brendan's a Harvard student, which I'm told they're not going to exist soon. But Pesci ends up with Brendan's thesis, and he won't give it back. And so these two guys are joined at the hip. And at one point, Brendan says, "That's my life." And Pesci says, "That's pathetic." And he pulls out a bag of rocks. I thought this was such a great metaphor. And he pours it into his hand. He said, "Every time something important happens to me, I pick up a rock," which metaphorically is an experience. And he picks up a rock. He says, "That's when I got married." And he picks up a rock. He says, "That's when my first son was born." And he said, he picks up a rock. He says, "That was a woman in Bimini." And I'm going, what a great metaphor. It's the idea of going through life and picking up stones. And so,
Sure.
So as painful as something might feel, it is one of those stones.
Yeah. And we carry them with us for the rest of our life, but you laugh about it later. I have.
Right.
I have.
Right.
It hurts like hell when it's happening.
Absolutely. Like the whips and chains when my wife breaks them out. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm waiting for a red cup. I'm waiting for a red cup here at the end.
I used to have 4 colors.
Yeah. Well, Dave, let's get into politics. That's one of your favorite discussions right now. What is catching your eye right now? For me personally, what's catching my eye is the defiant observation of reality. That I think we are watching things happen. Like there's many things happening that are good. Like don't get me wrong. There's plenty of things that are happening that are good in this country. But there are so many things that are like Argentina, for example, right? Like we have 70% of our country can't afford $1,000 expense, but we're bailing out Argentina right now. What are your thoughts on that?
I know. So one of the problems I'm having is that it's so chaotic and so difficult to ascertain what's true, and will it be true a week from now? Right? That sort of problem. I had an occasion, as you know, I write an annual review for reasons that are unknown. I guess they're stones I'm picking up. And I had occasion to reread them all because Bob Moriarty and his editor are binding them all. And so it turns out to be 3,000 or 4,000 pages. And wow. So I've gone back and read what I've written from 2009 forward, and things have changed. That's what's noticeable. I hadn't really noticed it. And what I noticed was, let's say, go back 2015 as a good benchmark because it's a decade. You could actually tell a story about some event and you felt like you were putting puzzle pieces together, and then you'd get a picture. And nowadays the puzzle pieces are like the best metaphor I like is your GPS keeps rerouting you.
Yeah.
And you're doing this going, I know I'm not taking that right-hand turn again. No, I'm not. No, it's not. No, I'll turn it off, get out the gazetteer, figure out where you are, that sort of thing. And so the modern era now appears to be in Mike Benz, who I don't know who he is. I mean, people say, well, you know Mike Benz. No, I do. I've even communicated with Mike, but I don't know who he is, right to the soul, sort of who he is. And he worked for the State Department, so he's obviously explicitly complicated. Where it gets real complicated, there's something that sent me, besides he knows way too much, right? Yeah. It's one of those, how big is your staff? And are you a divisional head of something? But there's this picture of Mike Benz, the woman who supposedly got knocked up by Elon, Ashley St. Clair. So Ashley St. Clair is all over the place. And Ashley St. Clair is said to be Mossad. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden there's a picture of Mike Benz and Ashley St. Clair. Mike Benz is wearing the Star of David. And I'm going, he's Mossad,
I mean, I assume everyone is at this point, except for me, and I know you. So, I mean,
wait a minute, don't judge me.
You didn't let me finish my sentence. I know you, kinda. No, I assume anyone with a major presence is at this point. They're all narrative drivers. And
yeah, and if you're honest, then you never get tripped up. Because truth doesn't change. Well, it does. Apparently, it does. But
like a GPS.
Yeah, I know, like a GPS. So, but Benz at one point said around 2013, 14 that the authorities, the deep state, realized they were losing control of narratives, and therefore they had to grab them. That the internet kind of caught them by surprise at some level. And so you can't suppress the facts, right? They're all out there. When Enron went south, someone went to the Yahoo chat boards, which shows you how long ago it was, because Yahoo chat boards are not a thing now. No. And the whole story was right there. But no one knew whether that was some bullshit statements made by some goofball in the basement or serious players. But it was all right there. The whole Enron fraud was right there. So it's all in front of us. The Kennedy assassination, everything's in front of us to see, but the noise now has gotten deafening. Yeah. And I think that's by design. And so I think we're being, I once talked to a famous one of the most famous podcasters in the world, and I don't want to name him so I can tell the story, but he said he read probably 90% of all the Kennedy books when he was younger. This guy's very smart. He had a very prominent guy, not only now, but in a previous career. And he read them all, and he said he drew the conclusion you'll never figure it out because it's too garbled at this point. And he thought that 90% of them were written to deceive. Now, that's a lot of books to write to deceive. Maybe it was, well, let's get rich while we do it, right, or something like that. But or the guys who write them go to the sources to write their books, and the deceptions get planted every time, right? So if I'm writing a book about Kennedy assassination, my sources could be feeding me horseshit.
Of course.
Of course, yeah, I know. I'm shocked. Did you notice this year, for example, that when they released the Kennedy papers, which had nothing of real interest in it, the one thing that caught my eye quickly was there were some scrawlings in the margins that says redact the parts of brackets, and and there were a couple of places where the brackets didn't get redacted.
Yes.
And they were about the Israeli intelligence.
Which means they want you to know.
Which means they want you to know. But what's also true is it means the Israeli intelligence was all over the Kennedy assassination, which gets back to who killed him, right? Yeah. And then if Israel kills somebody, which I'm told they do, you don't know if they did it for themselves or for us. Now, they, of course, did it for themselves. I don't think Israel's known to be self-sacrificing.
No.
But for example, like the SS Liberty, where they tried to sink the USS Liberty. Clearly, they tried to sink it. Clearly, they tried to blame it on the Arabs. Clearly, they botched it. And clearly, the U.S. covered it up. And clearly, a lot of U.S. soldiers died.
Yep.
The question is, did we sign off on the plan specifically, meaning we knew that thing was going down? Or did we sign off on sort of a general plan and say, oh, shit, we didn't know you're going to, and then we got to cover it, right? There's no question we covered it.
Yeah, no question.
And there's no question they did it. They apologized.
They paid.
Our bad. They paid. Not much.
Yeah. Not much at all.
And so it was clearly an attempt to drag us into a conflagration in the Middle East where we would bring our firepower to kill Israel's enemies, which doesn't warm my heart. For the record, I guess I'm an anti-Semite now. I just did it. And by the way, for the record, those of you who want to accuse everyone of being an anti-Semite because they criticize Israel, if you can't criticize the government, all is lost.
Absolutely.
All is lost.
We can criticize our own, and we're not called that, right?
Yeah, I mean,
and our government's filled with Jews and Zionists.
I know. I'm shocked. Yeah. Don't say that. Shh. We'll get booted off Rumble.
I might get booted off Rumble for saying it's also filled with Jesuits and Catholics.
Oh, that'll be a problem.
Yeah.
The question, though, is if we tell them to do it, like let's say Israel brought down the Twin Towers. That's not
allegedly.
Us. Allegedly, yeah, allegedly. That's not us, in my opinion. If we, if they did it and then we covered it, now the scales are moving around here. Right? Yeah. Oh shit! You did what? Oh fuck! We're gonna really go nuts trying to cover that one up, and we'll spend the next 30 years covering that one up unsuccessfully.
Very unsuccessful.
I made the other day. I made reference to silver. We should rename silver Tower 7. I like to try to think of stupid shit stuff. So the question then is Israel doing it for us? Obviously for them too. But are they doing it at our command? Say, oh, by the way, could you whack this guy? Or by the way, could you sink this ship? Or because we can't do it, so you do it, and we of course will give you lots of money and jets and weapons and the bomb,
right?
And things like that.
Right.
That is a different level of guilt than if we're sitting there getting whacked by them and having to cover repeatedly. And I just don't know where I come down on that.
No, I mean, you're in the spot I was in a while ago where you start to realize that the narrative is completely controlled. We live in a constant, like a dialectic farm. So you just create one thing over here, another thing over here, but the intention is to get you right in the middle. Like the ranchers know. We call the training grounds to the CIA the farm. They call Stanford the farm. Like any place called the farm is where they train ranchers, right? So
UVU,
the farm.
Utah Valley University had a big CIA holdout there, which made it easy to pop Charlie.
Yep.
And we got to talk Charlie because Charlie's driving me nuts. The Charlie Kirk story's got shit all over it, but okay.
Sure. Yeah, no, we will. We will. You might not like where it goes, but you will. We'll go there. But the interesting thing is you talked about Mike Benz in 2013 writing an article saying the internet caught the deep state off guard. That's ridiculous. That is the most ridiculous name. Who created it?
Mike Benz. But it still, I think, was so, as the internet got more sophisticated, what they had to do is ramp up their sophistication too.
Who made it more sophisticated?
They did. No, I get it.
Silicon Valley, right?
So it had, yeah, those guys are good guys. It had to evolve though. So the deep state's handling of the deep state had to evolve with the growth in the internet.
Right.
Even though they created it, but there is some. It's like building a sports car, right? Ford versus Ferrari, or whatever that movie was, right?
Yeah.
As you build a more sophisticated vehicle, you have to develop more sophisticated techniques.
Sure, and they are very sophisticated today, like very much so. Yes,
I'm told.
And in the world that we live in right now with this farmers and cattle, I think it's just like Animal Farm was a disclosure book. 1984 was predicted. Yeah, 1984 is predictive programming. George Orwell's not even his real name. His name's Eric Blair. He's related to Tony Blair. That's actually George Orwell. Yeah, George Orwell is Eric Blair. This is his real name, and he's related.
You got to be deep state. You're fucking with me. You're trying to put me down now.
No, it's true. It's true. Like all these narratives they're still being seeded today, right? Like I'll give you an example. Well,
was Huxley not Huxley?
I don't know anything about Huxley. Just 1984. I read 1984 in high school, and it captured my mind back then. And I was like, "Who is this guy? What is this thing?"
Well, the only thing he seemed to lack was actually the technology. The problem is
we have it today.
We now have it. Yeah, we have everything that Orwell needed.
Yep, we now have the surveillance state that they praised in that book and heralded. That's like commonplace. Now we have Palantir. There's no wondering who the man is. We had the 2-minute hate speech. That was the Trump campaign where, CNN was the 2-minute hate speech, constantly berating the guy who wanted free speech. I don't know if any of that's even real anymore, to be honest with you. I think that everything has been set in stone for us to be distracted into this constant lull of endless surveillance state. Like it's endless. I'll give you an example. So our little phones here, if you got an Apple, I do a lot of ruck walking. So I throw on weight, I go hiking, I just started tracking my miles because I just walk. Or I go running at night.
I don't have to add weight to do that.
That's great. But
no, because I'm already carrying the weight.
If you have an iPhone on you, this is fascinating. I'm going to look this up so I get this term correct. This is just your phone. This isn't like Fitbit. This isn't anything else that you have. This is an app on your phone that you cannot get rid of. Okay. You cannot delete the Apple Health app. You cannot log into it and not see its results. But it actually tracks something called walking asymmetry. This is just your phone. In a healthy walking pattern, the timing of the steps you take with each foot are very similar. Walking asymmetry is the percent of time that your steps with one foot are faster or slower than the other foot. This means the lower percentage of asymmetry, the healthier your walking pattern. This phone can tell if I have a good walking pattern with no additional sensors required. Now, I have a bad knee from being a catcher for many years. So and I limped and I looked and my asymmetry spiked. It could tell that I was limping when I was walking. That's just your phone. That's the most remedial form ever. They can literally tell if you can limp or not, and you have no ability to remove that surveillance. Zero.
Well, related to that, which is just technologically related, someone was putting in a piece of sensitive equipment on one of the floors. They wanted to determine if the vibration of that floor was okay because it was very sensitive equipment, and they were going to pay some guy $20,000 to study it, and the building manager said no. He downloaded an app that with your phone you could see someone, jumping off a chair down the hall.
Yeah, with
your phone. Mm-hmm. And then he says if you're willing to spend $1.99, you get a good one. but what purpose does that? What purpose did the technology that allows that app to be there? Why is that technology in the phone?
Who knows, right? I mean, that would be like I'll be totally doomer on this. Say you were on the run, right? And they were looking for you, which they can find you because you have your phone on you. If you're dumb enough to have your phone while you're on the run, they could tell if you're limping,
well,
right?
for all you know, my shirt has fibers in it that are telling them where I am. So
absolutely. I mean, it's overbearing right now, and we just continue to endorse it. Like, I just think here's the thing that's about, because I'm kind of like you. I've stepped away from the day-to-day politic paying attention because I don't think any of it's real. I think the end result was
so fake. It's so fake.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about a whole nother layer that we don't even know what's real and what's fake. The shit, like Trump says something, I go, it has no meaning.
None.
And then the market responds. I go, what's interesting is, why did the market respond to this bit of bullshit today?
Right.
And they say, well, Trump said he was going to do something with the tariffs. I go, he says shit like that every day.
Every day. And the numbers change. 100%, 155%, 42%, 13%. And the market reacts. And I think it's interesting. The first time that he did it, he had the guys from the Schwab family at the White House going, these guys made billions today. Well, of course they did. They were standing with you yesterday when they knew you were going to make the announcement.
It's like FDR changing the price of gold at a whim.
Yeah, on a whim. Total whim. Confiscated all. You think we have anything in Fort Knox?
I think there's gold there, but we have no idea ownership.
Yeah. I think it's mostly foreign gold.
Someone like Rickards, I think, would say that too. Jim has enough deep state proximity.
Yes, he does.
To figure he knows some stuff. And I've known him for a very long time, but to say that therefore he wouldn't lie to me ignores the fact that, guys like spooks go a lifetime without telling anyone that they're spooks. So, you never know. You just don't know.
No, and that's
the guy at the 7-Eleven's not CIA. I'm willing to wager that guess. Not guaranteed.
Not guaranteed.
Oh, my grandfather, for example, when I was a kid, my grandfather lived in Thailand. And I asked my dad more recently, what was he doing in Thailand? He said, oh, he was setting up a bank. And I said, how'd that go? He became a president of a very small regional bank in Long Island when he came home. And he said it didn't work out well because everyone who touches money takes their cut, and you can't run a bank that way. And then it didn't click that he was in Thailand from 1955 to 62. And I'm going,
interesting time to be in Thailand.
What are they doing in Thailand from 1955 to 62? And why did he come home in 62? That sort of thing. There's a lot of coincidences here. And then I've got a box of papers in my office, box of photos. And I'm going through, and there's him at cafes and elephants and shit. And there he's standing there in fatigues in front of a Huey with guys with machine guns. And I go, wow. Those must be his tellers.
Well, they were handling something, that's for sure.
And then I realized there is no American who was in Thailand from 55 to 62 who wasn't CIA.
Right. That's crazy.
You didn't get the visa if you didn't say I'm CIA.
Wow.
But they're not going to let you go to, the domino region of the world and not be CIA.
You didn't know that your whole life until then?
No.
You never came out?
No. Not
like Tucker's dad, who everyone knew? Like you, that's crazy.
Yeah, even I knew that, right?
Right.
And apparently Putin did too.
Yeah. Oh, Putin knew.
Tucker's very complicated.
Yeah, he had an interesting episode on the other day. A guy wears a Kabbalah bracelet, which is universal symbol, and he had a guy on there, and he asked him, "What's Kabbalah?" Like, he knows what Kabbalah is.
But he claimed it was something else.
Of course, yeah, of course.
I know, but I've seen people draw attention to that.
Just like the deep state didn't see the internet coming, right?
and didn't see 9/11 coming and things like that. All sorts of stuff like that.
Just totally random.
Right.
Rando scenarios all throughout the world.
Well, Tucker's 9/11 documentary. I hate to hammer Tucker because he is so nice to have me on, and I enjoy listening to him. But his 9/11 documentary circled around all sorts of issues. And if you'd watched a bunch of others like the New Pearl Harbor and things like that, which I think do a pretty good job of laying out the fact that we're in a simulation. And then Tucker's video is pretty good. But it's not one to be a starter primer on 9/11 because he makes you draw the conclusions way too much.
Yeah.
So he shows you, says, this doesn't make sense. And you go, well, tell us what it means then. Yeah. And he kind of falls very short of that. And I don't know. I don't know if he did that on purpose, or if he overestimated the ability of the audience. But I don't think it would keep the attention of my wife very well, for example.
Right, and she's just starting out trying to figure out.
Well, she wants to watch it, so we're going to watch it. The 5th one just uploaded, so I said, okay, now we're going to do a binge. We'll do, get some popcorn and binge through Tucker's.
I watched the first couple, and I got the same thing. I was like, okay, this is good. It's really good, but you're not
traditional sounding.
Yeah,
it sounded generic.
It was very Fox Newsy, right? Like very mainstream news.
Number 4, which I vaguely remember listening to, gets deeper, gets into what the hell is Building 7, that sort of thing, and that's where the rubber meets the road. And also Tucker interviewed, I think it was Tucker interviewed Charlie Sheen, which I was his warm-up band for, apparently. And he mentioned,
you didn't have enough tiger blood.
He mentioned something that very few people mention, but I obsess over, and that is the lack of security cameras of the Pentagon.
Yeah.
Now, people say, well, blah, blah, blah. I go, no. It's a city with 100,000 cameras if it has one.
Right.
And they're pointed in every direction. If you're telling me the Pentagon doesn't have cameras aimed outward.
Of course they
cameras, do. Yeah, every building in D.C. has cameras aimed outward. You could not sneak a jumbo jet into Washington, D.C., right?
Nope.
We're not talking a stealth bomber here.
Does he ever
no one ever mentions it.
Does Tucker include in that? Because I won't even watch it unless he includes the coverage from CNN where the guy says, I'm here at the Pentagon and we can't find any plane parts.
I can't remember. And there's several of those, and one of them, which I had not seen or hadn't seen much of, was a guy who really was an amateur who sort of weaved his way in.
Yeah.
And there's just nothing. And the Shanksville crash site has nothing. They say the plane vaporized. I said, have you ever tried to vaporize a tin can? I mean, they don't vaporize. That's not the word you would use with that. And by the way, it would look like a yard sale. There would be shit everywhere. Just
everywhere.
You'd see body parts hanging off tree limbs and stuff, and all the laundry, right?
Clothes,
all the
suitcases,
laundry, all the shirts, all that. And if those things blew apart, but there's nothing. You can't see plane, you can't see engine, you can't see laundry, you can't see anything. It looks like someone carpet bombed. It looks like they dropped a big bomb on top of someone's trash can.
A complete vaporization, and there's like every particle was destroyed. There was nothing in that footage. I remember watching that in like 4 days after it happened and going, "Where's the plane?" And then for like 8 years, I didn't even think about it.
But planes never even become unrecognizable. They always you look and you go, "It's still a fucking plane."
It's a plane. There's a wing.
There's a plane right there. There's a wing. There's people. There's bodies. There's you name it, right? And
no transponder either. Like nothing.
So where'd all the people go?
I just took my kids to New York for the first time last weekend, and they had never been. They got straight A's. Said, "Hey, we can go wherever you want for the weekend." So we go to New York.
You should do a paternity test on them, but straight A's.
No kidding. Yeah, because they actually pay attention. I would not do that. So we go to New York, and my wife goes, we went to the 9/11 memorial right when it came out.
I've never been there.
It's I went there and I'm like, I've been awake to this for many years. And I was like, this is really well done. Very expensive. It's like an underground winding museum with audio.
Now, did you wake up to it when someone showed you Building 7? You said, boom. Was it Building 7 that did it? Because most people, that's it. You see Building 7, you go, oh my God.
Mine was the Pentagon. Like the thing that woke me up to 9/11 was that footage of the guy who got fired from CNN for saying there's no plane parts here, and he was fired the next day. Like it's always apparent to me that somebody like makes a mistake and tells the truth, and then they're either fired or like in the old days burned at the stake.
Ben Swan got fired for talking about, I think it was COVID or something.
Yes, instantly. Yeah. Emerald Robinson, same thing. She got fired on air or quit on air for that stuff. So I kind of pay attention to that. For me, it was that CNN clip. And knowing it was CNN, and probably, I don't blame people for not waking up to this because you wanted to go back to sleep. You just wanted to like kill as many jihadis as possible and go to Iraq with nothing to do with it for the
Well,
war.
but unlike the Gulf War, which they did a great job of selling that, even though if you dig into it, you discover that that one was not a clean war either.
No.
And although ironically, one guy who gives the Gulf War, so the Gulf War appears to have been our State Department telling Saddam that he had the green light to go hit Kuwait, right?
Yeah.
And then we sprung the trap. There's sort of a claim that we gave Saddam the nod to do something with Kuwait, and he overdid it. Scott Horton actually cuts the State Department quite a bit of slack.
Yeah.
And Scott's not bashful about calling people out unless he's just a better limited hangout than your typical limited hangout. But Scott is, I was binge watching Scott one day, and I ran across a podcast I'd done with him. And I go, I forgot about that. It was really funny. I go, holy
You've done
shit,
1,000.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but that one turns out I'd forgotten, and then it made sense because I had called bullshit on the authorities in Britain on the porting down on the Skripal poisoning.
Mm-hmm.
So that the father-daughter team and 8 miles from porting down, this is like the Wuhan lab, right? The wet market, 8 miles from the Wuhan lab. This father-daughter got poisoned by a nerve agent called Novichok, and I looked at the structure, and the authorities were saying this unique Russian technology. And I go, my sophomores could make that shit. And I put it on an exam after I got into it. I went on George Galloway a couple times and stuff. And I put the structure, and I said, I got into a bit of an international incident, at which point eventually Porton Down guys backed away and said, this is not uniquely Russian technology. I'm not sure that I didn't force their hand. I don't know. I was the only organic chemist saying it. There's not a colleague. I don't have a colleague in the world who wouldn't recognize how easy that shit would be to make. I mean, it is a sophomore organic chemistry problem, and of course you die when you got to the final step. But it's
a bit of a hang up.
But I had done that. I had Al Jazeera trying to get me on, and then Scott got me on. That's how I got on Scott's, because that was in his wheelhouse.
Wow. So you forgot you were even on a show?
Mm-hmm. Oh, you want to see a funny one? Go on Twitter. I posted a tweet so you can find it easily of Harry Sisson on Piers Morgan.
Oh, God.
No, you got to watch it. Harry Sisson. If he's not a meth head, I'm just a bad judge of character. You watch him and you go, this guy is so juiced.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking juiced as in excited, because he's been pretty visible.
Yes.
Right? He was juiced as in like he is snorting his breakfast now.
It wouldn't shock me.
No. If you watch him, you go, either that or it's demonic possession. I mean, it's really extraordinary. Where he's sitting there doing this, and I'm going, holy moly, Harry, you got
one leads to the other.
Yeah,
one leads to the other. So I love the show Intervention. Before my mom passed, she was a drug and alcohol rehab nurse, so I learned about all this stuff as a kid. And I watched this thing where it went. Economic times are bad when you go from the common blend of drug to cocaine and heroin to fentanyl and meth, right? Like sign of the times. And people who do crack, one guy who was on the show, he goes, I love crack because as soon as I do it, I feel like I'm possessed by something else. That's literally what he said.
The new drugs are, the jackknife where the person's standing there and they're doubled over, sort of 180 degree doubled over. Is that the fentanyl jackknife?
Yep.
I have a degree in biology. How does their nervous system allow them to be that far gone and balance?
Yes.
That makes no sense to me. Their equilibrium, they're doubled over, but their equilibrium is being maintained, and they don't just fall over.
Yeah, very true.
And
how is it possible?
There's something so subliminal about that balancing act they do. Because it's certainly not a conscious decision. They're not saying, oh, keep my balance. They're gone.
Well, I'm going to give you a movie to watch. So you gave me a book to read. I'm going to give you a movie to watch. It's called Nefarious. And there's two nefarious. The one, I think this one came out in 2023. It's a movie about a serial killer who is on death row. They bring in a psychiatrist to evaluate him to see if he's, you know, crazy or not, to see if they can put him down. Turns out he's possessed by a demon named Nefariamos. And the psychiatrist, you just kind of got to watch the whole thing. He gives a very good breakdown of demonic possession, which is real. Like, I don't care if people laugh at me. Until the late 1800s, anyone who was crazy or schizophrenic was considered demonically possessed. You know, Freud, the 1800s gave us all these different versions of Christianity, atheism, French Revolution, two-party system, all this stuff. And in the middle of it all, we have Darwinism, paleontology, all these crazy things come about. And that's when pharmaceuticals and psychiatry began. That's when you had Freud, who now said religion isn't a thing, God isn't a thing, atheism is real. And now these people are mentally ill. They're not possessed, they're mentally ill. So for almost 1900 years or more, let's call it 5,000 to 7,000 years of human existence, crazy people were considered to be demonically possessed. That's just the way it was.
Well, but anyone who's married knows this.
Yeah, 100%. Especially if you don't like clean your dishes before you put them in the sink. That's
well, it goes the other way. It goes in reverse when I don't put the seat down. So
yeah. Yeah, I learned that lesson a long time ago on my own. I put it down for my own.
I draw the line. I refuse. It's minimal seat movement. Here's the column theory. There's a statistical chance you're either going to have to pick it up or put it down. And therefore, there's no sense in putting it in a position that might have to just get reversed anyway. So leave it where you left it, and you will minimize the amount of human endeavor required to use it.
Just basic physics, Dave.
It's just basic physics math. Yep. Yep.
So watch this movie. He talks about these little things that we do, right? And I know that you're not a believer necessarily, but you are curious, and I think that's important. And I don't care if you're a believer or not. The curiosity is amazing. So when you hear this guy say all these little steps in your life, you use a Ouija board, you do a little sin here, a little sin there, it opens up gateways to demonic entities. I have never seen so many people. I've been talking about this for a decade, and I have never seen so many people now coming to that conclusion, is that these drugs do open up these demonic doorways. And people who've been possessed going through deliverance exercises, most of them are fake, by the way, that you see, they'll admit these things. So watch Nefarious with your wife. It's a psychological thriller. There's no blood and guts. It's just like a conversation between this shrink and a demonically possessed serial killer. And I think it'll blow your mind a little bit, because his discussion of the war between heaven and hell, and that earth isn't right in the middle, is really a good description of what I see reality being. And The Exorcist got into my skull. I was a freshman, and it really got into my skull. Scared the crap out of me as a kid.
Right. And since I'm not religious, I've spent some time pondering and I love sci-fi. Mm-hmm. And somehow that one got into it, and whether it was subliminal scenes or whether something was somehow, ringing true, I don't know, but it was highly influential. I was terrified after that, and I was not easily terrified by sci-fis. I lived out them as a kid, and I read an article the other day. It was a fascinating article related to this stuff. It's about after-death experiences. Mm-hmm. Now, whether they're religious experiences or whatever, or whether they're neurological flickerings or whatever, one of the problems is the people who have them, and there's way too many of them to ignore.
Yes.
One of the problems is that apparently it's just euphoria at a level that's not imaginable to a normal human being, unless, of course, you date Eric and Kirk. They have trouble returning to life. They have trouble returning to the humdrum daily,
yes.
Do the dishes, and people don't understand them, and so it's a real sort of they have to reintroduce themselves to the non-euphoric world.
The Matrix.
The Matrix, right? And speaking of, fictionalizing reality, yeah.
I had a 4-hour session with Miss Stewart, and biblically based movie. She also wrote Terminators, predicting AI in the future. Fascinating 4-hour private meeting. I talk about it all the time. She blew my mind.
Who is this now?
Sophia Stewart. She's the actual author of The Matrix and the Terminator. And then the
I didn't know that.
The two Jewish guys that are now Jewish girls stole the movie from her. She sued him and won.
That's a step down, in my opinion, by the way.
Yeah,
Come from being a Jewish guy to a Jewish girl. Because when I was in college, the Jewish girls were at the bottom of the food chain. And they was like, oh no, I'm not going near. We used to go up to Wells College. I wrote about this. I'm trying to write about it. The Jewish American princesses on campus. The ratio of male to female was terrible at Cornell. And these girls came from Long Island. So I don't even know if it had anything to do with Judaism or just Long Island, right? But they were not improving the dating pool at all.
I want you to watch Nefarious. I had a chance to meet the guys who made the film. They talked about the spiritual difficulties of making the film, the things that were like hindering the performance, because I believe in that stuff, and because I've seen it. And I think that we're living in this culture where fear is so easily embeddable. If you're scared of stuff, you're vulnerable, right? Like the psychology would say, if you're fearful, you're controllable. But the reality is, if you're fearful, then you are weakened. That's a very weakened state of spirit, of soul, of even the body. Like that's been proven in things. Yeah.
Right.
So like
you will not perform well under fear.
No.
Except for that whole adrenaline thing. You might get a boost out of that one.
There's different theories beyond that too, right? That could be supernatural as well. You're seeing moms picking up cars. That's not adrenaline. The muscle has restriction. Like muscle has, it cannot pick up a car. Like there's no 120-pound woman picks up a car. Something else is helping. But our society is going through this, and we're watching this kind of, whether it's real or socially driven the social engineering capabilities of the world are unbelievable. So whether this revival we're seeing of people in finding religion, which is different than faith. I'm not a fan of religion, by the way. I'm probably not even allowed in
the organized religion. The organized religion.
Not a fan of it. It's just it is MK Ultra in a certain phase, right? It really has its own nefarious
or less bizarrely, a grift.
Oh, I mean, there's a video the other day of a guy who commanded all of his parishioners to bring him $2,000. Lady brought him $1,200, and he like berated her in front of the church. Like, why do you ever set foot in the church? So you're
not going to go to the Church of Scientology anytime in the foreseeable future?
No.
Which, by the way, is an evil institution.
Yeah.
Scientology is not just Billy Graham up there, trying to get you to empty your pockets. It's way.
Billy Graham's a 33rd degree Freemason.
Oh, is that right? Oh my God. I just can't outdo you. I can't keep up. I want to get off this train. So is Disney. So is Walt Disney, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, there's a 33 club right in the middle of Disneyland.
I know. Right in the middle of all the kids.
Yeah. Super nice. Well, look, MTV just went out of business, I heard.
Probably Nickelodeon dragged them down.
Sure. Yeah. Well, that's like in LA. I drove by it every day. It's like, here's MTV, and right below is a Freemasons lodge. So is it Mason TV? Yeah, it's right on Hollywood Boulevard.
Oh, I've gone through all those Disney movies and all those pedophile logos and stuff. It's just nonstop. It's just nonstop. So there's an alternative explanation. So I was talking to a guy who was a famous podcaster years ago. It was way back in like 2002 or something. And again, I'm not going to name him. And he called one day and we were chatting, and the chat slowly but surely degenerated like ours is today. and he's telling me about 9-foot lizard-eyed monsters by the end. And I was not ready for this conversation, but I humored him. And I mean, he sincerely believed. He said, I'm sitting across the table, and all of a sudden there's this guy, and his eyes are bright red. And you're telling me this makes total sense to you. You're not even flinching at this, right?
I believe that he believes that.
Right. But an alternative interpretation came out of my pursuit of trying to understand MK Ultra and the brainwashing. And one of the things I think the MK Ultra guys do is use satanic stuff to fry your brain.
100%.
So it's a tool. And they for those who don't know, they destroy your psyche. Some people talking about destroying your personality. Some talk about destroying your soul. It depends on your sort of natural leading, but it's the same phenomenon. They split you into a dozen personalities, and then they reassemble you, and next thing you know, you got Jason Bourne killing people, and you got
Zoolander.
What?
Remember that in that scene where something happened and he triggered like his assassination? Like Zoolander was a disclosure. Yeah, watch Zoolander again. There's a scene in there where they like take him off and train him and make him an assassin.
I don't remember that. That just went right by me. Okay, I watched Zoolander. I just remember I couldn't turn left. But part of the brainwashing is to they bring the satanic stuff in, so they drug the crap out of you and they torture you, and I think they dress people up as demons and stuff to just melt your brain like there's no tomorrow. When someone hears that, you know, CIA brainwashes people, we're not talking sensory deprivation shit. We're not talking about, you know, browbeating, and we're not talking about just waterboarding. We are talking horrific things that you would just never wish on any human being. And then they reassemble you. Now, here's the interesting thing. I was on a Zoom call with a couple of survivors that you know probably. One is Kathy O'Brien, and one was Juliet Engel, who is less famous but famous. And the other famous one's Annika Lucas, and there's others, but those are the top dogs of that world. And the suggestion is that there are people walking around life having no idea they've been brainwashed and just living their life to varying degrees of success. Like Juliet said, she got a medical degree, but she couldn't remember her childhood at all. And the reason, I believe, is because they blew her brain apart, and that the Juliet you're talking to is one of 12 Juliets. And the other 11 don't know about this one at all. And so if you're Juliet A and there's Juliet B, and Juliet B is a fighter, Juliet A doesn't know Juliet B's been in a fight.
Right.
And so the ones, the survivors sort of piece their world together. And I talked to hours on the phone with Nick Bryant. He says their memories are terrible. They're not,
by design.
They piece, right. But they try to piece it together. And I think they believe they've succeeded, but I don't think they have.
Never.
And
never will.
And never will. But I think, for example, if you walk the streets of San Francisco, for all you know, some of those guys, you know, the guys yelling in the subway are personalities that have been split up, and then they get released to the streets. Nick, I said, what happened to all these people? And he said, well, some of them just get released to the streets and are eventually self-destructive in all sorts of ways.
Yeah.
But how big is the MK Ultra program, do you think? How many people have they processed? Thousands, tens of thousands,
hundreds of thousands. There's different forms. So the MK Ultra program has their formal, the people who are brought in.
Serious ones. Yeah, the ones they bring in and they start at childhood and they train them like a dog, right?
But if you research it going back to the 20s, you'll see that MK Ultra, was founded in Russia under Bolshevism. They wanted to control a population, and they wanted to figure out how to do it technologically. In reality, I think all of us have some form of MK Ultra programming. It's just not as condensed.
Was that sort of, did Pavlovian experiments, for example, get done under that program? Is that where that came from?
I don't know if
Pavlov's
was
dog.
Possibly, but I think Pavlov was right around the same time. Delgado is really the guy who's attributed with the real MK Ultra, the putting electrodes in cattle brains, and research Dr. Delgado. He was the one who took it technological, from psychological to technological, putting electrodes in bull brains and then controlling them with a remote. They were doing this with cats.
I just saw a video of a bull doing circles with something on his head that was obviously some sort of bandage of some kind.
Yep.
And he was a bullfighter, and then all of a sudden he'd stop and then just start doing circles.
Yep. It's crazy. Crazy what they can do. But imagine 1920 to 1930 that they were doing these things. Where are we at 100 years later? I think these things are a way of
behind the paywall. What are we doing? Right.
Exactly. Look at like the term for kids searching videos is called doom scrolling. Right. So they're already embedding your dooming. It's a doom loop that you're looking at on videos.
Oh, yeah, right.
And it's all scary stuff. It's all fearful driven. It's nothing inspiring. And
it's tapping into your neurotransmitters just nonstop. It's like the rat experiments where you're hitting the cocaine bar.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that endorphin drain from your brain, you get all that endorphin high. And then when you turn off the phone, it's gone. That has eliminated a lot of social interaction that's vital to human growth. And I think that's a kind of low level entry
You can
program.
see it in the students, in my opinion.
Sure. Sure.
I mean, the Cornell students are smart and fairly well adapted. But I noticed last year I had a class in which I was trying to figure out what wasn't making sense. What wasn't making sense was that the personality type of all 25 kids was the quiet kid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, introverted.
And I go, how do you end up with a class of quiet kids? I don't quite understand that. Usually because, a kid who gets to Cornell, captain of the football team, editor-in-chief of the yearbook, they tend to be the outgoing type, and these were all quiet kids. One girl, I said to her, I really appreciate you in the back there, because when I make a joke or something, at least you smile. Right?
You see how it's working,
I was a class clown. I mean, I was voted class clown in high school. And I can't get a rise out of classes. And it could be I'm too old.
Nah, you're funny. I think you're funny. I always laugh with you, man, every time I talk to you.
You're an old man. You're an old man.
I'm an old man. But think about COVID. COVID,
oh God,
was a global MK Ultra exercise. Fear nonstop. Look at the death count. Stand 6 feet apart. Isolation. These are all tactics.
The Chinese videos,
which were laughable,
laughably fake.
Laughable,
right? The lady walking down the street and pancaking. And if you look at really close, you see she broke her fall. That sort of thing. They're spraying the streets with with foggers.
Yes.
Welding apartment doors. And it's like, oh, come on.
But I was just in New York City, and I will say, I'll estimate less than 50% of the people I passed in the street spoke English. That's a problem. But I would say 5% of the people I saw were wearing a mask. 5%, 4 to 5% still today. So when people say MK Ultra is a conspiracy theory, you just experienced it. There's still, like, I'm in Texas. I see somebody once a week driving in their car with a mask on. Like, are you trying not to infect yourself? Like, just the ridiculous nature that fear.
I saw a guy in a car with a mask on with a Biden bumper sticker that says, "Yeah, we know." I tell you, the one good thing the modern era has brought in are memes.
Totally.
The memes are the greatest invention of the modern era.
And they go back a long way. We just brought them back.
But they've gotten good and prolific.
And the AI stuff is hilarious too. It's also scary, but like the AI stuff, like there was
terrifying.
Like the Jake Paul video of him in a dress, that was going around. My son showed it to me. I'm like, what the hell is he doing in a dress?
I don't think I saw it.
And it was all AI. So he's suing the guy who made it, which he should. But I mean, that's one thing I want to cover with you, because we can go into anything. We're going to talk about.
Too good now. That's the problem. It is really too good.
And it's just beginning. That's the problem. Where does it go from here?
Yeah. It's improving so exponentially. So here's one for you. Did you happen to see Tucker's interview of the guy named Conrad something, who was who had studied Satanism, right?
Yes.
Now, I found his discussion to be one of those that's not unlike Tucker's 9/11, where you kind of had to already know material, because it was really kind of it wasn't the kind of stuff that would take you from 0 to 60. The stuff would take you from 60 to 80. But he made, I think it was in that one where they were talking about AI, and they said, what if there is an evil force that has no body, a bodiless evil force, which if you're going to start believing in this shit, that's a no-brainer, right? And I'm afraid that I'm gonna go this route. I really don't want to go here. No. I'm happy to go today, but I don't want to start. I don't want to believe in evil and good forces without bodies. To me, I've got enough on my plate. But they bring that up, and I'm saying, okay, so I'm now at the I'll entertain your discussion stage of the competition. And he says, what if AI is building the machine for this evil force to occupy? And I'm going, oh, fuck. Oh, dearie me, that's not good. Oh, that's not good. It's like we built it a capsule. We've given it an organism to occupy. It's like Lawnmower Man. Remember Lawnmower Man, the movie?
I do.
Where the guy goes in the computer, I know many more people now talking about good versus evil, which is a decidedly religious tone that you wouldn't have heard 10 years ago.
Yeah, well, I also hear dark to light a lot, which is predominantly an occult term. That's an occult term.
Okay.
That's very, like, every pagan religion talks about. I mean, we just had Diwali, which is the dark and the light, right? It's very much that. And of course, biblically, there's ties to that. Are there good and evil forces? Absolutely. That is, there are negative and positive electrons, right? Like everything on Earth is duality. So you wouldn't know what good was without evil. That's kind of the way that.
Well, there's no question. Once you endorse one, you got to get the other.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
actually,
you can't have one. You can't say there's a force we call good, but there's no force we call evil, right? It's sort of like if there's a God, there's got to be a devil, sort of thing.
That's right. That's right. And you look at, like, that was kind of my journey to faith. I was kind of where you are right now, studying the occult and the satanic cults and why do people do these things? It's so crazy. And he just kind of pulled me out of it and said, you've learned as much as you need to know. Come to me now. And that's the honest to God truth. But and it's so crazy that happened, because I was trying to figure out the pedophile thing. Why do people like children?
Why would you do that? Well, it's not just that. Even worse is, why would someone do that to their own child?
I know.
And I'm not just talking about the twisted bastard who molests his child, but the one who, I mean, there are people who quite literally, and I don't know the numbers, but quite literally, knowingly sacrifice their firstborn child, right? That's not very biological. Darwin would not sign off on that model.
No.
Right?
Well, that goes back.
You're snapping the tree. You're snapping the branch in your genetic tree right there.
Well, and this is part of the conflict of Israel. Like, the people don't understand this biblical Israel tie. So the basics are pretty simple. So Abraham was given a promise by God. He was given a blessing by God, not Israel, Abraham. He then had sons. So he then had Isaac, who had Jacob. Jacob became Israel. Israel is the one who wrestles with God. That's what Israel means, wrestles with God. And then he had 12 sons, which became the 12 tribes of Israel. One of them was called Judah. That's where the Jewish term comes from, the tribe of Judah. And the other one was Joseph, one of the 12. So Joseph, Abraham was getting ready to pass his blessing to Joseph. Judah, the king of the Jews, the father of Judaism, he actually didn't. All the brothers got jealous. They conspired to kill Joseph. And Judah basically said, let's not let a crisis go to waste. Let's sell him for silver into slavery. So he sells Joseph into slavery. They get silver for it. Eventually, Joseph has two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, and they end up being adopted by Israel and given the Joseph tribe, who is now prime minister of Egypt, who Judah had to bend a knee to while his sons died. And these two new sons got God's blessing. That's where it began. But the real story is when the multitude of many, which is not just Jews coming out of Egypt, it says multitude of many coming out of Egypt, went back to the land. The land that they were promised was called Canaan. And in Canaan, that's where the Canaanites come from. They were sacrificing their children to Moloch, who used to have these big steel or iron. They were made of iron statues of a god sitting there with two hands opened wide, fires burning underneath the hands, and everyone would sacrifice their firstborn to Moloch for earthly blessings.
Has the image of Moloch changed over the centuries, or no?
Yes and no. Yeah, so sometimes it's a mouth and sometimes it's hands, but either, like, even that Travis Scott
Moloch
concert,
a whole creature. It's in some cases.
It's a demon.
Moloch? Yeah, the demon.
It's a demon. So these Canaanites were worshiping Baal and Moloch. And it's in the Bible, so they're in there. So they're sacrificing.
It was also in the Olympics.
It's been in every Olympics. It's been in every.
The London Olympics is unbelievable.
That was the most blasphemous thing I've ever seen in my life. It is.
Even I, a pagan with a noisy sword, watching the London Olympics, I'm going, what are you doing down in that infield?
Yeah.
And it was so demonic. And it was surreal. I thought someone had dropped acid in my coffee watching this thing.
They might have. There's enough cup there to do it.
I know.
Well, I'll go back to this. This goes back to Israel. So Israel was given the land by God, right, through the Abrahamic blessing. They have Israel, breaks into two kingdoms, Judea and Israel. Both of them fall back into idolatry and sacrificing their children, removing the actual covenant. So this isn't anything new of people sacrificing their children. This goes back to the beginning of time, of people seeing these demons, creating worship, sacrificing their children to it, selling their children into it. This happens in Afghanistan. They sell their children in Afghanistan.
I hadn't put it in that context. I hadn't actually put that together. I have to remind myself that I have to remind myself, and then I fail to remind myself that to understand Satanism, you have to understand it as a religion, not as something else.
Like a club.
Once you understand it, once you understand it as a religion, then it makes much more sense.
And when you start to understand that those people are more religious than any Christian you'll ever meet, they are so dedicated to that dark religion that it becomes their life. Take an oath. These people take a lifetime oath. They sell themselves.
Have you read Sons of Sam?
Yes. Yes.
Maury Terry.
Terrifying.
Yeah, it's a problem, isn't it?
It's terrifying.
I was in New York when Sons of Sam were killing people. And
wow.
And I remember Stacy Moskowitz vividly. And but I just read that. I think it was Nick Bryan who mentioned it as an important book, and I read it. And for those who don't understand this, David Burke was Son of Sam, which is one of many satanically tied people who were killing women in New York and in Montana and in LA and various places as a nationwide or global wide, but they describe it in that book as kind of nationwide satanic group, of which Berkowitz looked out of his mind nuts. And then all of a sudden he starts looking incredibly sane, going, okay, I want to chat here.
Yep.
I have a problem. You've got to help me here, So yeah, that was another one.
This happens quite a bit. Yeah, we were DMing on Twitter. You're like, I'm just getting into satanic cults. And I'm like, be careful, Dave.
Yeah, I know.
Be careful. It's a dark subject, but it's so real. It's unbelievably real. This is what most secret societies are.
I've been trying to understand it, to understand decisions being made by world leaders that don't make sense. And the problem is just this conversation alone illustrates that they never will.
Never will. Never will.
And so, the question of why did they open the southern border, which makes no sense to me. And
sure
and what it, oh yeah, okay, yes, yeah, but using a simple model, I'm going, do the Biden squad, Team Biden, which clearly were more problematic than others, do they not?
Whoever that guy is.
Wherever that guy is, right? Do they not have some basic belief in our system? And the answer appears to be no. And so I've been trying to understand what is superseding that. It's
their oath, the oaths they actually take.
What are the symbols? Give me the hand symbols. What are the?
Oh, I won't do them.
I shouldn't have asked you that. That's like asking you to, I got it.
Yeah, I'm not going to light the Diwali candle either. That's just not part of me.
Okay. Yeah.
But I understand it. I mean, I understand it's earthly and political stuff. But like to understand these things, Dave, you really need, like, the Bible has never been proven to be dishonest or inaccurate historically. Like, everybody in the world has tried to break. It's very much a historical book. It tells stories that go back thousands of years about this demonic worship. And most importantly, the Bible says a couple of things that are very important to understand. Number one, that God gave Satan dominion over earth. Like, this whole idea of people are inherently good is not biblical. It says that our hearts are inherently wicked.
It's interesting.
Like, that's what the Bible literally says, that our hearts are inherently wicked. We need to turn to God to make them pure. So if you understand that God gave the devil dominion over earth, then everything on earth is demonic. Because I always hear people saying, the stock market's demonic, the Bitcoin's demonic. Of course it is. It's of earth. Everything on earth is demonic.
Right.
Our challenge is to get through the demonization of humanity and find purity in life through Christ. Like, that is literally where we go with it. But if you understand that the world
make lemonade out of lemons, basically, right?
Yeah, right. Well, I sent you out as innocent as a dove amongst the wolves, right? Like, this is what the soul is. When you're delivered from heaven to earth, you are sent out into a demonic realm to see if you can remain faithful to God. So if you understand that the world is the devil's dominion, this whole idea, which I've the more biblical I get in life, which is my favorite pastime, is comparing Bible to history, which is I'm going to do a very long podcast. I hope you watch about comparing biblical prophecy to history. I will. When you do this and you start to realize that, behind me, I have a Geneva Bible from 1560. In that Bible, it's you can see it right there, that big holy Bible right there. That's a 15.
Oh, I see it. I see it. So they got a new binding, or is that doesn't look original?
It's a reprint, but I have 6 pages from an original in there, so it's just a reprint. I wouldn't put that on my shelf here. The one I have from 1564 is in a safe, but that one just for here is decorative. But the reason I have that behind me is because in the verses, in most common thing you'll hear in this modern religious movement is the armor of God. I'm sure you've heard, put on the armor of God. Ephesians 6, and in Ephesians 6, I should pull it out and read it to you. But Ephesians 6 in modern translations talks about we battle not against flesh and bone, but against powers and principalities and evil done in high places. It leaves out a word from the 1560 Geneva Bible where it says specifically, and worldly governors. We battle against worldly governors. That is removed from modern translation in ESV, NIV. So when you go back to Geneva, they were warning you, and that was right around the time of the Protestant Reformation, by the way. So it warned you in there that this is Satan's dominion, our hearts are wicked, and that worldly governors do evil in high places. That goes back at least to that translation 550 years.
So we're not talking the Federal Reserve then?
No, far before that. Far before that. We're talking like the papal powers at the time.
The worldly governors, yeah.
Worldly governors.
Okay.
Now I'm going to get you on a Bible reading kick. I don't care if you believe or not, but read it and compare it to history. It's completely accurate when you interpret it properly.
Well, I'm still trying to read history. I mean, history to me was, yeah, I know, and what's truth, right? That's the real problem. Is that I'm really sympathetic to the alternative historian movement now.
Me too.
The guys who are trying to say, okay, we were told what World War II is about. Okay, let's see if we can figure out what really happened. And you find that it had nothing to do with what you were told.
No. Well, let's do that because that's also a psyop, Dave. Let's do some digging on this. So we have the traditional story. Adolf Hitler's this evil guy. He wanted to rule the world. His whole point was blood in the let the streets run with blood of everyone but Germans, and this blonde hair, blue-eyed. None of that's actually historically accurate, but that was the narrative. And in reality, what happened is at the Treaty of Versailles, a sliver of Germany was given to Poland, populated with all German people.
I'm reading Pat Buchanan's book about World War I right now, and he's talking about all the slivers of Germany that were passed around after World War I.
Completely parsed, completely neutered, no military.
To the point where they left the Germans so destitute and so down and out and demoralized that there were guys who were smart enough to say, look, someone said this is not the end of a war. This is just an armistice. They're coming back because of what we did to them.
That's correct. And it was foretold. Like they knew that.
They knew it. They knew. The smart guys knew it.
Albert Pike wrote about it in 1871. He said this is how the 3 world wars are going to go for global domination. Like he wrote about it.
Shit. I've heard about it. Well, maybe you told me about Albert Pike. I don't know.
Read Morals and Dogma from 1871, maybe one of the most consequential years in global history. The unification of Germany, basically selling ourselves back through the Rothschilds in America. All these things happened in 1871. But when you look at World War II, you have this rise to power of Hitler, the anti-Semite. He actually did a speech, and his translated speeches are fascinating, by the way. But those are being used as propaganda. So the story we're told is this maniac wanted to conquer the world and just decided, I'm going to kill every Jew for no reason, just going to kill every Jew in Germany.
And I've asked the question, was there a tactical reason for that people don't talk about?
Well, first of all, the reasons they talk about, they don't make sense, right? So he actually went and rounded up the communists, who most of them were Jewish at the time, and the traitors, and he put them to work in internment camps, which were created in Bolshevik Russia. Okay, that's where the term concentration camp comes from.
Right.
But then he rounded them up, and they were making munitions. So why would you kill the people making your munitions while the entire world is fighting against you? That doesn't make any sense.
Right.
But then you have this 6 million Jews died, despite the fact there were only 600,000 in all of Germany, and 150,000 of them served in the German military because they weren't communists or traitors. There were actually Jews serving in the German military at the time. That's a proven fact. And then you have this counter narrative. The counter narrative, like Europa, The Last Battle, is a fascinating documentary, but I also see it as a psyop. Because you have this, all of a sudden Adolf Hitler was this holy man of God. He was a Catholic. The Pope endorsed Adolf Hitler. There's actually a book written, Hitler's Pope, If you read that, like the Jesuits of the Vatican loved Hitler. He was endorsed by the papacy. So now you have this other counter narrative where he was this holy man trying to save Germany. He did amazing things economically, right? He's theoretically arrested a Rothschild, went back to labor-backed dollar, got them back on their feet, wealthiest population per capita within 4 years of desolation, all these things. Is that organic or was that manufactured at the time? Right. And you also say that there's videos like he closed all the Masons lodges and raided the Masons lodges. Well, Himmler was the guy in charge of the SS, and he admired, if you read Himmler's documentation, he admired the Jesuits. The Jesuits, many conspiracy theorists believe that the art of war is disclosure on the Jesuit tactic. Like many people believe that. It came out 1 year before the French Revolution. So oral tradition passed down from a Chinese general from 2,000 years ago involving spyfare. That doesn't even make sense. But now this counter narrative is that Hitler was right. Hitler was right. Well, none of them were right because they say, oh, he hated even Netanyahu was caught on video saying Hitler didn't want to exterminate the Jews. He wanted to expel the Jews. So the guy who opened up the door for Zionists.
There's a biography of Hitler that's something like 2,500 pages long, which I must confess I have not read.
Me neither. I know what it is, though. Yeah.
A friend of mine, a Jewish friend of mine who has read it, and he said that of that inner circle, he was not the big anti-Semite.
Yeah. Well, it's proven through history. So he created the agreement that moved the original Jews from Germany, the Ashkenazi, who are not Jewish by nature, they're not Israeli, into Zionist Israel before the war, during the war. He was moving them with military brigades.
In the 20s, it started, right? Is that
with Palestine? Mm-hmm.
Right. Answer a simple, pragmatic question for me. So in this battle for the region of we'll call Greater Israel, which I'm trying to understand starting from scratch. I mean, it's really hard. If there is a claim to Gaza Strip, let's start with that one. If there's a claim to that land, who has that claim? The
Palestinians
Jews or the Palestinians? That's what I thought.
Mm-hmm.
So is the claim by Israel that's their land? Is that just a complete fabrication, or is there some alternative reading or an alternative interpretation of history that gets you to that?
Well, it's called dispensationalism in biblical studies. So this began in 1830. So previous to 1830, everyone understood that in Joshua, who was one of the liberators of the Israelites from Egypt, Joshua said all Abrahamic promises have been fulfilled. Now the Jews don't include that in their doctrine. So they don't include the book of Joshua in the Tanakh. So what the interpretation began in the 1830s, actually Zionism or the Jews having their own land began with Napoleon Bonaparte, who, by the way, his 2 generations down founded the FBI in America. Bonaparte founded the FBI. And if you look at Napoleon, he went into Italy. I mean, it's all fascinating. He went into Italy and he found that the Jews were held in ghettos with bands on their arms, yellow bands and yellow hats with the Star of Remphan, not the Star of David. No rabbi in the world can tell you that that's the Star of David. It's actually the Star of Kiyun or Remphan. And they were marked living in a ghetto, which an actual Torah following Jew, a Levitical Jew, before becoming Judaism, it was called the Levitical practice. They actually believe in fulfilling the Torah. So they don't have a problem with it. But Napoleon liberated them from these ghettos and said, you should have your own land. Zionism began with Napoleon in Italy. And then you have Theodore Herzl, Moses Hess, all these other guys who said, yeah, biblically, we're going to contort end times prophecy into something that it wasn't. Because again, read the Protestant Reformation and their idea of end times prophecy, which is accurate. And then, they were backed by Jesuits. They were written by Jesuits. These are all documents. Some of the stuff you can find on encyclopedia or in Wikipedia. But that began around 1830, that the idea that Jews should have their own country because they've been persecuted, right? They've been kicked out of 109 nations. Well, for what? They weren't kicked out for religious persecution. The accusations against them are very strong, very well documented. They were kicked out for, supposedly legitimate. I didn't live then, so all I'm is a historian. So all I can do is read. But then around 1900, you saw this contortion.
So why were they kicked out, though? Why were they kicked out? You never finished that sentence.
YouTube won't allow most of it. Usury primarily.
Okay.
Usury primarily, lending of money. In Spain, they were called conversos, so they converted to Catholicism in public, practiced Judaism by itself has multiple different prongs, like Christianity does today. Right. So a true Levitical Jew is a pretty holy person, like the Levitical practices, Sabbath and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But then that area of Canaan, which became Israel, that's where you have this blend of mysticism and biblical teaching. So now you have Jews that are practicing Kabbalah, the Talmud, which is demonic in every depending on they have a translation they give to Gentiles, and the actual translation of the Babylonian and Jerusalem Talmud are very demonic. They're oral traditions by rabbis who want Jewish domination and supremacy throughout the world. That's what they are. So you have different types of Jews. So like I always say this with that, it's not every Jew. Like, and by the way, they're taking a lot of blame for things the papacy has done throughout history over and over again. So the idea
of Jews is not a rare thing, right?
It's been around since the time of Christ. It literally has been. I mean, for 1800 years, they were considered cursed for killing Jesus. And now all of a sudden, they're God's chosen people again. That by itself should be a gigantic red flag. But most people's scope of history is like World War I and no further. But if you look back through all of the rest of history, you'll find out the Jews were irrelevant. Everyone considered them cursed. So they modified the Bible called the Schofield Bible. This was done by a guy named Cyrus Schofield, who worked for the East India Corporation, which is the Rothschilds. And he wrote his own version of Scripture, his own interpretations or reference notes, beginning in Genesis, where it says, I will bless those who bless Abraham. His reference notes say, well, he didn't mean Abraham. He meant Israel. God didn't mean Abraham. God meant Israel in 1908, when Israel wasn't even a country. So these Bibles were printed by the Oxford Press. They were given away to every evangelical church in America. No profit was made. It was just done for propaganda. And now you have an entire evangelical wing of Christians who believe in an end time story with a third temple, which is actually us, the believers. We are the third temple, the spiritual temple. But they translate a spiritual book literally. And they've contorted it to make Christians believe that there are two messiahs, that there will be a Jewish Messiah and Jesus. Jesus was a Jewish Messiah. He was from the tribe of Judah. The blessing of Israel was that they were blessed to give birth to the Son of God. That was the blessing. So it was all fulfilled. So these new scripturalists in the 1800s, the 1800s is the most fascinating period in history. It's like the ultimate psyop ring. Everything's from every psyop of modern day began in the 1800s. So now you have this 120-year
reign. The technological revolution?
No, I think it's actually tied to cover up the Protestant Reformation accusations of the Catholic Church. And I think eventually their goal is to make Protestantism look ridiculous and bring people back into papal powers. I think there's many people like, I'm not the only one. There's many people who see this and believe it. And if you know enough about history, it's pretty accurate, because Charlie Kirk was becoming a Catholic. Now he's a martyr. Now people are going to the Catholic Church. So you can see these things rotating over time.
We should bring this to Charlie before this is over, no question.
Yeah, no, we'll go to Charlie next, because I think Charlie is a very interesting story that nobody's going to talk about what we're going to talk about, by the way. Maybe some people are.
Well, but yeah, you're going to do the talking, because what I talk about, people are talking about.
Yeah, no, we can do that too. But if you wonder where this greater Israel idea came from, it came from Theodore Herzl, Moses Hess, Napoleon Bonaparte, the 250-year run.
It's a modern era. It's a modern era creation then.
That's correct. Yeah, it is not biblical. It is not biblical.
Now, supposedly there's a sort of a Israel annex that's forming in Ukraine.
Yes.
That I've been hearing about.
Yes.
Is this new?
No.
Well, I know there are Russian Jews and stuff. I get that, but I've been thinking of something about it's sort of reforming or coagulating or whatever the word is. It's picking up momentum, something like that. Now, I'm looking at Ukraine thinking, they could use the help probably.
Yeah. But that's by design. It's all a dialectic.
How did I know?
Well, you have most of Israel is populated by Ashkenazi Jews who are not Israeli. They're not Israelites.
Right.
The world is finding out that they are not Israelites. Most of the world is waking up by design, waking up to the fact that Israel is not the biblical Israel at all, nor is it God's prophecy.
I don't think most of the people are waking up to it. I think there might be some people, but I think most of us are clueless.
You'll see it in the next 3 to 5 years. I mean, this is how dialectics work. This is how narratives work. So you're seeing the breaking of the spell right now. It'll get worse and worse over time. Everything will be blamed on the Jews. And the whole purpose is to move them back into Ukraine, where they're actually from. So you have to destroy Ukraine, You've got to have Israel surrender in some capacity, but they're going to migrate back into Ukraine, where most of their bloodlines.
So you're saying we're moving towards a defeat of Israel at some level?
I think that's happening monetarily right now. I think they're losing financial influence in the region. The GCC is gaining a lot of momentum. A lot of deals with the United States are happening in Saudi, Jordan, some of these other areas. And I think that I think Zionism, I'm bringing on a guy who wrote a thing called the Dark Crusade about political Zionism and its use.
So
I think the usefulness is over.
Therefore, I know Netanyahu's scrambling. I don't know anything. Let's
neither do I.
Peel back. I don't know anything, but it seems as though Netanyahu is scrambling now.
Yeah.
He seems to be really, really struggling to keep the narrative going according to what he wants. Is that at some level justifiable? Then is he attempting to preserve Israel against this force? So is he doing what's in the best interest of Israel? Is he doing?
No.
No. Okay.
He never has. Yeah. I mean,
well, he's always struck me as a punk ass bitch.
Yeah, that's what he is. And the thing is,
a liar, a big liar.
He's very much
not a lot of honesty there.
He's very much a Talmudic Jew, which is very much of the Pharisees that Jesus despised, right? That's the teachings of the Pharisees, who learned their teachings in Babylon, where the term synagogue the first synagogue was created in Babylon. It wasn't created in Israel. That's very historically documented. So like he quotes the Talmud and says it's the Bible all the time. It says this in the Bible, that we should destroy all of our enemies. It doesn't say that anywhere in the Bible. It says that in the Talmud. So you have Israel is broken apart by actual Jews and fake Jews. So he is one of those people who use Judaism as a shield for global dominance, whereas an actual Jew understands the importance and the relevancy of being a good person and living in harmony with the world. And that's why you're seeing these huge protests in Israel right now of real Jews wanting Netanyahu out of there before their country is destroyed. And that's inevitable at this point. Does that make sense?
It does. I'm curious, if I took a bunch of biblical scholars and set them in a room and you and them chatted, would it turn into a fight, or would there be a reasonable consensus on the big picture and the details would be getting discussed?
A blend of both. I'm not a biblical scholar. I just remember.
No, but you're presenting an awful lot of stuff that's way over the head of pagans.
Well, see, most biblical scholars they subscribe to a theory. They're post-millennial, premillennial.
Echo chamber.
They reinforce their own preconceived notion of what prophecy is or what it's not.
Well, could someone let's just pick a name. Could someone like Ben Shapiro mount a counterattack against your claim that the Palestinians really have claim to Palestine? I know it sounds insane, but
sure.
Would he be able to mount an attack, or would he have to formally lie to do it?
Well, he would have to formally lie to do it, and that's Talmudic. That says in the Talmud, it's perfectly okay to lie to everyone to get what you want. So, and he is clearly a Talmudic Jew.
Apparently, my kids are Jewish on a bad day. So.
But yeah, they've already mounted
they're demonic on the other days. So.
Oh, I know that feeling, man. I know that. Sure. No, there's already an attack against it, and those attacks are based on the denominations of Christianity, the denominations of Judaism. They're all that we're right, you're wrong, right? That's the whole thing. Nobody's looking at things objectively like a scientist would, even science.
So is therefore Israel, in your opinion, going to become a real killing field? So I have this image that if the United States all of a sudden said, "Look, we're out," there would be this gigantic sucking noise in Israel. Besides the fact they have the bomb. Right. Ignoring that little detail, that there'd be the sucking noise, and Israel would just be devoured by its neighbors. Is that?
The weird thing is, I don't know that that's a reality. Because before Israel was created, Palestine was comprised of Muslims, Jews, and Christians, and there were no wars.
I know. This is my reading. I just read a book called something like a short primer for the history of the Israel-Palestine conflict by a guy named Hillel Pape. It was really entertaining book to read because it was just the right level to sort of get you up to speed. Very much a Palestinian view. So this is not this guy's not writing from he's not Netanyahu's bitch.
Right.
He's not. That's clear. But I also listened for evidence that the person is profoundly biased like if someone wants to rant about Trump favorably, that's okay, as long as I'm going, wait a minute, you're way over the top. Yeah. Right? I want to hear a person who has a balanced view, who shows me the capacity to switch teams. That's why I like, for example, comedians like Bill Maher. You can disagree with him 75% of the time, but he shows the ability to cross the midline.
Yeah.
Jon Stewart does. Jimmy Kimmel, no chance. Colbert, find an ice floe for that guy, right? And so I like people who can cross the midline.
Yeah, me too. That's all I look for.
Even if they're biased, strongly the other way, because if the truth turns out to be over on the other side of midline, these guys like Glenn Greenwald, I think, will find it.
Maybe. I heard a pause there. But there are guys, like when I wrote about the Ukraine war, I started from scratch. Okay, so I get out my risk board, I go, where's Ukraine? And then you go, no, that's not Ukraine. That's named Ukraine, but that's not Ukraine. And then I found about 30 or 40 guys who I thought were trying to get it right and piecing together the narrative. And it really felt like I got it. Yeah. I don't, even just 3 years later, I don't feel like I can get the stories that I'm trying to get. That's what's frustrating me. Yeah. History has to evolve. Like we probably won't know the truth about any of these things for 50 years. I mean, maybe, look at World War II.
One of the differences there is I started paying attention to Russia. Again, I don't even know why people like history until they've lived a couple of units of it. So why a kid would like history doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I agree.
But why a guy who's 50 likes history makes sense, because you go, well, by 5 of me gets me back to the Revolutionary War, right? And I go, oh, that's imaginable, right? But I started paying attention to Putin around 2012, 14-ish, color revolution sort of stuff. And I had become intrigued with Putin.
He's an intriguing guy. And
that he seemed to be the right guy for the job. And he's a nationalist, in my opinion. And I can't really ask more out of a leader than that. And I don't think Biden was a nationalist. No. I think Trump pretends to be, but I'm still not sure.
Time will tell.
But time will tell. I have this, I guess maybe it's a hope that in his heart he's doing. If you give me a lead, I've always said for years, decades, I've said, if you give me a president who does what they think is right, they'll be fine.
Yep, I agree. It's a tough job. It's a tough job. You've got to appease the world and your people.
Things that don't seem right and things like that, right?
Yeah.
It's been a while since we had one that I was willing to sign off. I think Jimmy Carter did that. Although someone mentioned that he was a member of the club.
They all are.
I know they all are.
We've never had a president that wasn't a Freemason. Look at I'm going to DC. I'm a sponsor of the National Veterans Parade. And if you go to DC and you look at the headpiece of George Washington, it says Freemason president. It doesn't say president and Freemason. It says Freemason president.
I'm told my dollar bill has some weird shit on it.
It does.
I know it does.
Especially that weird little spider.
The guys who listen to you, this is probably just a casual conversation. If my friends were listening, they're going, oh my God. These guys have gone totally off the rail.
That's good though. Like these are the conversations. We want people to hear these conversations and go research for yourself. Like, and don't go to the traditional sources because they're primarily lies. That's why revision, think of what they call alternative history. They call it revisionist. You're revising the narrative. Well, yeah, the narrative has been controlled. Absolutely controlled for all of history, especially really in the modern era with newspapers.
Well,
and printing
here's a question I like to ask, and I have two questions that I ask. I'm writing about Israel right now, and may God have mercy on my soul because this can't go well. And I describe my start as a child, and it's pretty much just waspy the whole way, unaware, knowing that there's Jews and Gentiles in my high school, but not knowing who's who, right?
Right.
That's pretty neutral. And but I like to ask the question, name a Western power that doesn't lie to you to achieve the goals and attain the narratives of the elite. And the answer is you can't do it, right?
That's right.
Anyone who can name one, they're just lying or they're delusional. The question that I then ask people, and this is a modern era, much simpler question than the kind you and I are circling around today, is I like to say, what happened on October 7th, 2023?
Yeah.
And usually if I'm talking to someone, they kind of reel back and realize that they're cornered. And then I'll have someone say, well, we know a lot of people died. And I go, do you? I don't actually know. And I'm not being a Holocaust denier. I'm just saying I don't know.
You're being a critical thinker. Yeah, absolutely.
And what I don't know if the hostages being released have been in a 7-Eleven, have been in a Motel 8 for the last. I don't know. And I'm sure some of it's right. I just don't know what. Yeah. And this is not, denying the severity of what seemed probably to have been horrible.
Sure.
But it's killing me in that sense. What I do know is that the story that says Hamas somehow went undetected and got the guys behind enemy lines, that just makes no sense.
On hang gliders.
And made it to the ground alive.
Yeah.
Right. And not be detected within a country that if the one thing you can absolutely respect for Israel is they know what the hell's going on in there.
Absolutely.
Mossad is by far the greatest intelligence operation in the world, by far, bar none, right? I think they dwarf everybody else. There's no chance that they didn't see it coming.
That's right.
And
so
then
how
there's
did
the
it
debate
happen?
of, well, they held the door open. Let's start with that. But there's
some people why did they hold the door open?
Well, the simplistic model is now we get to go mow down the Palestinians to get the land we want, et cetera, et cetera. Or lizard-eyed aliens.
One of the two.
One of the two. And talking to you makes me want to stop writing and just say, oh, screw it. There's no way I'm going to get near the truth on this story. So in any case.
Well, that brings Charlie into full circle, because Charlie was the one who said, I was on that wall. So I have many friends who've been to Israel. I have friends who've been there multiple times. And
have you been there? Have you been there?
I have not been there. Okay. And when
Douglas Murray would say you don't have the right to say anything.
He's an idiot. He's also a propagandist. Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that until he completely detonated this year.
Yes. Oh, they're all like that.
No. But he did irreparable damage to his reputation in one interview with Dave Smith.
Yes. Who's Jewish. Himself. Yeah.
I know, but Dave Smith kept coming back with blocking and tackling. They kill tons of people, right? That sort of thing. And Douglas
You've never
kept saying, yeah, I know. It's like, oh, screw you. I mean, it just wasn't working.
So one of my good friends said that when you're a kid and you go to Israel as a Jewish person, they take you to the wall and they do a flyby of jets and helicopters to show you how fast the response would be to the wall. That's literally a show of force they showed to people.
Yeah, right.
So how was there no helicopter or airplane dispensed for a hang glider?
That doesn't make sense at all. Doesn't make sense. And how did they not know while it was being planned? You know this Efrat Fenigson?
Yes.
Yeah. What? Talk about gonads this big, unless she's part of some plot. But she and Brett Weinstein, who I do believe is an honest guy, about a day or two later did a podcast and said, very delicately said, none of this is making sense to us.
Yeah. Because it doesn't make sense. It deserves to be questioned.
Well, except it also makes total sense based on all the other wars in history.
Right.
And all the other genocides in history, and how they always start with a big fat lie and then move forward.
Yep. So Charlie was on PBD, I think, and said, I've been to this wall. It doesn't make sense to me about October 7th.
I've seen that interview. Yeah.
Fast forward almost a year, a little over a year. He started, this is the fascinating part about all this. So then he starts talking about his Jewish donors, how big Jewish donors have questions to answer for using HIAS, the Hebrew.
And by the way, for those listening who haven't hung up on us, Charlie had been super Zionist.
Yes.
Charlie had been sort of like, so I never trusted Charlie. I was supposed to have dinner with him one night.
Yeah, I was supposed to meet him too.
This seminar got canceled for free speech arguments or lack of free speech arguments. I was supposed to have dinner with he and Candace. And, but he always struck me as an opportunist, sort of shallow. Only leading up to his death, I watched the Tucker interview. I said, oh, there's more under the hood here than I realized. I watched him debate a religious guy, and boy, he had the firepower. Mm-hmm. He had the firepower. And so my opinion of him arose right before he got killed, just because of contact. But it always struck me as a guy who saw opportunity to find his niche. Yeah, you know, and there's nothing terrible about that, but you got to be careful not to turn him into Jesus Christ under those conditions, right? And we learned how great he was after he was dead, which is convenient. I mean, in the sense that it's easy to write a narrative once the guy can't screw it up.
That's right.
But and so I don't trust the greatness story because I didn't pick up on it before he was dead. And so there's a martyr thing going on here, clearly.
100%.
And my email box, by the way, suggests it's true too, because I am getting peppered with TPUSA fundraising.
All day. Yes.
All day. Yes. Go ahead. Keep going.
No, so then he starts talking about these donors, right? And he goes on his podcast and says, Jewish donors have a lot to answer. Like HIAS, if you don't know what HIAS is, Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, is founded in New York in the 1800s. It's the #1 mover of refugees from the Middle East during war into the United States and into Europe. They have been overly busy, overly hectic, and moving migrants from Africa and the Middle East into Europe and America. You know, predominantly.
Why?
Well, all by design. You got to have chaos, and you have to have people to test surveillance on, right? Remember who they will test surveillance. They're chipping immigrants here. They're using all that surveillance technology.
Probably vaccinating them.
Of course. Yeah, of course. So
I watched my dog get chipped, and I didn't realize how easy it was to chip a person.
So easy to chip somebody. Just boom.
I thought it required like a slice or something.
Nope.
Not even close.
Pop that thing in.
Close.
Very little pain even.
It's just a shot.
So he starts talking about that, right? And that was kind of where he started opening up, and with other people saying,
"Did we get chipped by the vaccine?" Is the question now.
Well, I didn't get the vaccine, but probably
I did. Yeah.
I would say probably there's nano chips in that stuff. It's total hyperbole. I don't know, but I would not put it past anyone. Although a chip to get through a needle head, pretty small needle. You need a pretty small chip to get through a needle head. So think of it that way.
Well, but they do the chips by needle.
Yeah, they're
my
nano.
dog just got chipped.
Yeah,
with a syringe.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past them. I don't know, but we'll keep on this. So Charlie has this revelation, right? Like Charlie gets back on the air and talking about his Jewish donors and how they are funding the barrage of migrants coming in through the southern border, which I find to be interesting. And that's being used against Charlie right now, saying, oh, he discovered Israel.
Jewish donors were funding the migrants.
This is, very, very prevalently. The Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, HIAS, is the #1 purveyor of migrants from the Middle East into America and Europe. Very well documented.
It's like an NGO or something? This one of these NGOs?
Yes. So many NGOs. But the funny thing is that Charlie mentions the Jewish portion of this and just completely negates the Catholic NGOs that do the same thing. So
religious. They're always religious. That's the funny thing. They're always religious.
It's always a cover-up, right? Like there's Jewish. It must be, now it must be bad or it must be good, or it's Catholic. It must be good. It's all the same thing into Europe and America. And then after he opens up and says this, 30 days later, he's supposedly shot at a college campus with minimal security by a guy who assembled, disassembled, reassembled a gun, dropped it in the woods, texted everybody he did it. I mean, the whole story is nonsense. But
And the text messages aren't in any way a 22-year-old.
No.
The whole story falls apart. So then the question. So you don't even need to worry about who the shooter is. At some level, you don't have to because it's irrelevant. Yes, exactly. I agree.
But what's the purpose? What's the purpose?
Well, the simple model is Israel didn't like them turning against them, and they had to make a point.
That's the simple one. That's the simple answer.
Right.
So it's the turning of the narrative to Israel, good, chosen people, to maybe they're not exactly who we think they are, and we should be looking into this further. So that narrative exploded immediately. It was Israel. I mean, that's what I said right when I heard Charlie Kirk was dead. I said it was probably Israel. Right. And everyone in the conference room laughed. We were actually in a meeting, and somebody said, Charlie Kirk just got shot. And I go, it's probably Israel, and we're probably going to go to war with Iran. That's literally the first words that came out of my mouth.
Right. Right.
And then you start to unwind it a little, because I had, like you, I kind of wrote off like, this guy's a shill, and he is. So like, I don't want to belittle. I know there's this whole Charlie martyr, and we want to put him on a quarter and put him up in the presidential burial and all this stuff. They embalmed his body, dressed his body, put it on television in 48 hours. No autopsy, no results. I went through this with Emerald Robinson in pretty good detail, and everything stinks. But the reality is that all of these, the eye-opening was Erica Kirk with her G ring. That's a Masonic ring. Like, there's just no way around that. I saw that. I didn't, but I never know what's real and what's fake. But Erica Kirk from head to toe. Erica Kirk makes no sense from head to toe. They're both constructs. So you're telling me this 18-year-old kid who didn't have any formal training knew all of these things at 18 years old? Like, let's be realistic here. Let's just take a step back.
And in a podcast I did maybe 2 days ago, we went down that path. Sean Newman. Mm-hmm. He said, but why are we not hearing from Candace Owens, supposedly? Oh God, I'm drawing a blank on his name, and I know him. People who've known him supposedly for a long time have not spoken up. Are they all part of the construct model? Is Candace all part of the story?
Again, this is the God granted Satan dominion over the earth. Satan is the counterfeiter and the deceiver. So we are led to be deceived in every possible category. And, like I have a podcast here I find to be pretty interesting. It's just a little free one. I don't have many viewers, but these people with massive viewers, like you've met these people. They live very good lives just talking on a microphone.
Oh, yeah.
And they're very well educated. Where did they get the education from? I'm pretty well researched and well read, and everything I read contradicts pretty much half of what they are talking about. So these are narrative drivers, in my opinion. I don't think they're bad people. I think some people take the money and are given a narrative unknowing what they're doing. And I think that's a very common thing in media. Actually, I don't think that. I know that's a very common thing in media. But the interesting thing about this to me, Dave, is the fact that right after he dies, like the next day, Candace Owens gets on a microphone and goes, Charlie was too dumb to be a Protestant. He should be a Catholic like me. Like, he was just starting to pray the rosary. He was wearing St. Michael. This guy was an evangelical Christian Zionist Protestant, which is not really a Protestant, by the way. That's just another version of lunacy. And now all of a sudden, Nick Fuentes comes out, another Catholic Jew hater. Candace Owens, Catholic Jew hater. All these narratives are being constructed. And all of a sudden, in the last month, we've seen this massive growth of people going back to the Catholic Church, which has many problems, like all organized religion does. Faith is important. Religion is misleading in all categories.
Right.
So where is this narrative going? The interesting things that you like studying the occult, you start realizing the symbolism of 33. That's one version of Masonry. 33 is the other version. So you had 3 hats that had a 47 on them. You add 4 and 7. You get 11 times 3 is 33 on the hats right next to him. He was shot on the 33rd parallel. There was
the Snake Eyes movie story. The Snake Eyes movie story.
Yeah.
Tell us that one just so that the viewing audience hears that one, which is beyond comprehension.
It's crazy. So what was the supposed furry shooter's name?
Nicolas Cage. It was a Nicolas Cage movie.
1999.
In 1998.
98.
Movie Snake Eyes. One of the lead characters gets shot in the neck by a guy named Tyler the Murderer or something like that. And the guy's name who got shot is
Charles Kirkland.
Is Charlie Kirkland.
Kirkland.
It happened on September 7th.
Yep. No coincidence.
September 10th.
No coincidence. And by
no
the way,
coincidence.
and
My
September
brother,
10th.
by the way, tracked down the movie, said everything about that was true. My brother,
Yes.
he did the fact check on it.
Yeah, I remember watching it. I went back and the interesting thing, there was also a book published the day before on Amazon, The Shooting of Charlie Kirk.
There's no chance. What?
Yeah. There was a book published on Amazon for one day that on September 9th, and they took it off in the midday on the 10th, called The Shooting of Charlie Kirk.
Oh my God. So there that coincidence just has way too many moving parts. And there's also some, I think there's some September, it's the 10th, right? I'm mixing it up with,
yes,
with
the 10th,
with
October 7th. Yeah.
Yeah, right. There's weird stuff where the 10th, October 11th, October 10th shows up in the movie or something too. It's just, okay, go ahead. Keep going.
So now we have this big push, and I see it on Twitter because I'm involved in these things, but I see it now every day. I see new pushes towards the Catholic Church. Like the funny thing was Saint Denis. Charlie loved Saint Denis. Saint Denis is supposedly a saint who was decapitated, who picked up his own head and preached the gospel for 5 miles before he with no head.
That's
so we have all these.
I've never seen one, right?
There's so much. Catholicism is a whole different rabbit hole. The Vatican's a whole different rabbit hole. It might be the end of the rabbit holes, by the way. But you see this massive narrative change. So what would be the let's throw in the other anomalies here, Dave. So Turning Point USA already had that stadium in Arizona booked 4 months ahead of time.
There's no way you can put together that service in 10 days.
No, not with all those artists coming to perform.
Oh my God. Just clearing that stadium for Trump's arrival would have taken 10 days.
Yeah. Now, what else happened at that event? They announced that they tracked every phone that was at that event. All 200,000 phones were now in some database.
I did hear that.
And you had nothing but the speaker. That was not a funeral service or memorial. That was a political campaign. That was a rise of the right.
It looked like the Republican National Convention, right? I mean,
that party for the NAR, which is Christian nationalism. So there's this big push now to remerge church and state. Which is a Catholic thing. You got to remember the papacy controlled the world through monarchs for 1,260 years. Like they were the authoritarian power. They lost that after the Protestant Reformation. I think they want it back. So now there's this big push towards Christian nationalism. Charlie was a martyr. Let's put him on a dollar bill or a quarter or whatever. This guy was a podcaster who went to colleges. Okay, this is not some revelatory martyr. Yes,
right. It was surreal to watch it, and the orchestration was surreal to watch.
Yes,
no question.
Every speaker, by the way, was either Jewish or Catholic. Every speaker, with the exception of Trump. Nobody knows what Trump is, but every one of them was Jewish or Catholic. He may be one or the other. So we have this political thing, and now we have this big movement. And don't get me wrong, I'm really happy to see young people going to church. I just wish they would read the Bible instead of going to church. I wish they would do that and pray.
Right.
But I'm really happy to see this.
You don't want to see them join a cult. You want to see them become religious in spirit, right?
Right. Now we're seeing this big push.
I was on a call with a military analyst, and all of a sudden he said, do you do Signal? I go, yeah. And he said, let's go to Signal. And then he said to me, someone was listening to us. I don't know how he knew, but he said someone was listening to us.
Well, Signal's not as safe as people think it is. Everything can be.
Obviously, there's nothing that is.
No, absolutely nothing, including the phones at the Charlie Kirk Memorial, who now have all of the revival Christians that are there, and that full database is now being fed. So, where do we go with this? I have no idea. What I hate seeing right now is first of all, I hate the fact that we witnessed MK Ultra, like we talked about earlier. So how many millions and millions of people around the world rewound a video of a guy getting shot in the neck, right? Like they just saw this trauma, then fear, then grief, then sadness. These are all things that the darkness feeds on. Like literally are what the darkness feeds on. And then you have this movement of people trying to idolize this guy. Like now Charlie, by the way, not diminishing what Charlie Kirk did. I think what he did on college campuses is needed. I think that open dialogue and debate is one of the most important things that we can do. And Charlie Kirk absolutely
reminds me of Ballard and child trafficking.
Who also many theories about him.
Well, at first I thought they were trying to disarm him by telling horror stories, and then I start paying attention. I go, wait a minute, I think these criticisms are, some of them sound legit. I was on a Zoom call with him. I don't trust him. So I think what happened is his story is sort of true, but he's grifting also.
Sure.
So that's the Charlie Kirk model right there.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And again, don't want to belittle. Don't want to belittle the things he did, but anyone that has $500 million in donations that come completely from Jewish people, Christian Zionists, evangelicals, and Catholics, because you can look through the whole donor list. That's all it is. There's no non-denominational person in there. These are denominational people.
Right.
And there's an agenda happening right now to move people away from traditional biblical Christianity into Catholicism. Again, that was the only form of Christian until the 1500s, by the way.
So let me back to the creation of Charlie and the creation of Erica. Do you think Charlie was created from childhood in the classic sort of MK Ultra way?
I don't know if I'd say MK Ultra, because that's
something that's why I said MK Ultra way. That's why sort of in that sort of style where he was by no means just a normal kid. I mean that he
by
was
no means.
By no means.
Yeah, I don't think any of them are. Nick Fuentes, Candace Owen. I think these people are so smart
Harry Sisson.
Absolutely.
You got to go watch the Sisson video. I'm not kidding you. Your eyes will bug out of your head. You go, this guy's lost his mind. I mean, he has really lost his mind. Then Erica turns out to be terribly fake.
Yes.
Charlie was convincing.
Yes.
Erica, the thing that struck me, this is a trivial thing, but besides the fact that her acting is bad, so she couldn't even fake the pain. She was, I've asked people, I said, if your loved one was killed, how long would it take before you smiled again? And the answer would be a long time.
A long time.
And you'd have sort of a zombie persona, whether you tried to smile or not. You just couldn't do it. And if you were giving a speech in front of people talking about your dead husband, real emotion would sneak through.
Yes.
And it didn't.
No tears.
No tears, no nothing. And I mean, a bad grade B actress. Now, the one thing that really caught my attention is she and Charlie had done a podcast where they chatted with each other, like, let's get to know the Kirks.
Yeah. And
someone asked them, it was like, people a live podcast where people are posing questions. And Charlie says, oh, here's an easy one. And the two questions that she got asked is, how long have you been married? And what year did you get married? Now, they'd been married a total of 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
So how long have you been married? You can imagine a slight pause because you go, okay, I got to do the math, even though an anniversary would usually keep track of that, right?
Yes.
And at my age, what anniversary is, I don't even know how old I am anymore. So let's go there. But at 4 years, that should not be forgettable. The one thing I know for a fact is you wouldn't forget the year that you were married.
Yes.
And she stumbled on both. And Charlie kind of covered for her. And she talked about how, there's so many kids and stuff, and it's so chaotic that, and so she right away was alibying. And she said, I can't even remember, and Charlie started reciting the kids' birthdays.
I remember that.
And it was just, and she was just a deer in the headlights. And by the way, she won Miss Arizona. Now, I thought about this a bit, and I'm going, you don't just become a red hot chick and then go win a state beauty pageant.
Mm-hmm.
That is a skill. That's like saying you decided to go act in a movie.
Right.
You don't have that skill. These women who are in these beauty pageants have been training like an athlete for these beauty pageants.
And they have political ties. They know everyone in the pageants.
That's exactly right. So you don't all of a sudden just insert a chick because she has a nice ass.
Right.
And a cute face. She does not win. She wouldn't know how to win. She wouldn't even know how to do it.
And she was connected to Trump in that as well, right? Like that was
That's
Trump
right.
pageant.
But the Trump connections, I always find those to be less convincing than a lot of people like to make of them. He was
because he's a businessman.
So many people. Yeah, exactly. And he clearly was tied to that world. So But the absence of family members at the memorial service / fundraiser.
Zero family.
The absence of interviews where someone sit down or sort of even a no comment interview, and then you find out her mother supposedly was deep state techie in Texas who helped create Israel's Iron Dome and things like that. The whole story's a mess. The whole story's a mess.
And her ties to Romania. She was with a
Romanian, the child trafficking.
Child trafficking in Romania with a Jesuit group, a Catholic group.
At 17 years old, she's running a company in Romania having to do with orphans. She probably met Marina Abramovic over there or something.
Had a nice dinner.
Yeah, had a nice dinner. Yeah, had a nice dinner. How many people got that joke?
If you got that joke, you're on my favorite people list right now.
I know. If you got that joke was for those of us in the know.
But she has all these ties, and like Charlie's mom is a Catholic. Like Catholics don't raise Protestants, by the way. That's just not how it works. People leave the Catholic Church as an adult, but he was raised evangelical, claimed to be evangelical. And yet for at least a year now, people have been there's articles all over the place. Charlie Kirk's going Catholic. He's turning Catholic. He's going to be Catholic. They go back over a year now. So, and he was attending Catholic church with his wife, who had a Jesuit organization in Romania that was accused of trafficking children with a 4-star general from the military industrial complex. I mean, it's all a mess.
General, you remember his name by chance?
Starts with a B. I don't remember it. I read through that so quickly.
I
tried to.
One?
Yeah. For me, the Charlie Kirk thing's kind of open shut. There's a construct. He was made a martyr. That martyrdom.
So the martyr was my alternative model. The martyr was, and I watched the last interview between Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro, and I look at Ben. I go, did he know that his guest was about to get cracked?
Maybe.
That's a spooky one, right? To watch a guy sit there interviewing a guy who he knows is going to get whacked.
And then see it happen. But that's how these satanic cults work. I'm not accused. I don't know for a fact, but that like self-sacrifice. There's a great show on Amazon. It's called Utopia. I think it's on Amazon Prime. It's called Utopia with John Cusack.
I've seen parts of it. So it is creepy weird, like very pandemic-y. But there's a part in it where there's these twin girls, and publicly there's only one daughter, but one daughter has to die on camera, and they're all part of this big club. And she voluntarily says it and says like, this is like the father comes in and says, this is so sad that you have to die to be a martyr for this cause. And she looks at him and says, this is the pinnacle of my life. This is what I've been waiting for my whole life. Like when like George Carlin said it's a big club and you ain't in it, that wasn't a comedy skit. That was disclosure. And these people are religious. I thought George Carlin had just become a grumpy old man. And then I realized years later that he understood.
Yeah.
And then
he knew his role.
Became a grumpy old man because he understood.
Well, I will say one thing about George, because people say George Carlin's in the club. Maybe, I don't know. There is a big club and we are not in it. Thank God. Thank the Lord that we're not part of that big club. But he actually, a friend of mine met him at a Whole Foods like 15 years ago and just talked to him for a while. He wanted her address. And for some reason she gave it to him because it's George Carlin. But George Carlin sent her like boxes of his comedy skits, like CDs and or DVDs and all this other stuff. And just like a nice note saying, great to meet you at the grocery store. Never heard from him again. Like those are good stories. Like, we should tell those stories to people. That's really cool. But this Charlie Kirk thing is, everyone's so focused on the caliber of the bullet, where the guy, like, I don't focus on that stuff.
Not relevant.
What's relevant is a martyr was made for a purpose, and we don't know that purpose
it's
yet.
relevant for some people. You have to make sure you dispense with the crazy shooter model at some level.
That's ridiculous.
But that's been dealt with so. Then you get a guy like Ryan Doss who says, hey, he was just a crazy shooter. And I'm going, now someone explain to me who Ryan Dawson is. Because I was one time on a Zoom call with him late one night with just like 4 of us.
Very smart guy, by the way.
Very smart guy. But I had this tremendous sense of who the hell is this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And not in the because I don't know him, but because of who the hell is this guy.
Well, he also said that Tower 7 dropped because there was a fire lit in the building, and I don't know any fire that burns strong enough to melt metal.
Yeah. He's buying into models that don't make sense, because those are the easy ones.
Yeah. I mean, most of what Ryan Dawson says, his 9/11 disclosure research is incredible, actually, except for Tower 7. That's how things work, though, right? There's always one little, glitch in the giddy up that you can't really put together.
Right.
But I like Ryan. I like his research. I like what he's done. He's on Twitter Spaces quite often.
He's very smart.
Very smart guy. And he's paid a price for telling the truth, too. That's kind of part of the the war scar.
What happened to his eyes, by the way? He had an eye problem. What was that about?
Don't know. I don't know him. I just follow some of his research. But yeah, so he was saying he buys into the crazy transgender shooter theory. That's odd to me that he would do that.
Yeah, that's a strange one.
There's no way that wasn't a professional job. I'm on the firing range once or twice a week. If I can get in more, I will. Anyone can hit a 150-yard shot on a firing range for sure. However, with 3,000 people in the way, one shot, perfect kill.
Nerves firing like crazy.
And then having to escape without anyone seeing you, that's a pro. I don't care what anyone says.
And the absence of an exit wound is a problem.
Yes.
And the guys, did you see the two guys smirking?
I did.
And that looked, and the guy who one of the decoys in the front with the hand pistol, he was also smirking.
Yep. Why would you be smirking?
Duper smirk, it's called, right? Duper smirk. When I watched Zuckerberg get asked, how do you make all your money? He was in Congress, and how do you make all your money? It was from some politician who supposedly was grilling him, and he said, advertisements. And then he smiled. I thought, oh moly, he really loved getting that question.
But then he also claimed they make $9 million a second or something like that on their quarterly reportings, which no one believes.
Yeah, I got to figure there's some Pentagon money flying their way.
Well, it's been disclosed, that's for sure. And the Pentagon has a budget to make movies. Like, people don't realize.
Yeah, half a
Hollywood.
Half a billion, I think it is.
Yeah, to make Hollywood films that glorify the wrong thing.
So does China, by the way. You should watch Hollywood movies and watch for when China is treated well. You can't see where they've been extracted from a movie, right? You can't see where they've been undemonized, but there's scenes where China saves the day, and you go, oh boy, they spent their money that day.
Absolutely, they did. Absolutely. Yeah, it's half of Hollywood. That's not half. That's a third. The other third of Hollywood funding comes directly from our intelligence services.
Right.
That was Argo. That was a great movie. That was a disclosure movie, right? That's a total CIA operation to get people out of Tehran in 1979. And had to go to Hollywood to find the right pieces of the puzzle. And somehow the CIA guy got into every trailer and every back room in Hollywood. It's all scripted. Like, we live in this scripted environment. And I think that's what the Matrix is when you start to realize, like, when you look at this stuff and go, okay, Charlie Kirk, I love what he did on campuses. I love that he talked about God. I don't believe in his eschatology at all. I think it's heretical eschatology, to be honest with you. And all of a sudden, he's a new version of Christian coming out. Like, his wife's a Catholic. Everything's Catholic around him. That narrative change. You watch, Dave, over the next year and a half, everything's going to be Catholic this, Catholic that. With Charlie Kirk, watch. It will happen.
But I'd already sensed the massive shift, and aiming at the young especially.
Yeah, got to have the youth. Everything's generational. Got to have the youth. But would you call that deceiver smirk?
One can even imagine there being deceiver smirk. You got to imagine maybe even the transgender story and all the ultra woke left sort of tease up the shift to the right.
100%.
Right.
100%.
So you say, because now the kids are saying, I have had so much of that crap, I'm going over here instead.
It's how you radicalize. Like, if you look at, like, the left has been radicalized. Saul Alinsky's book did a great job in the 60s, but the left has been radicalized for 20 years. The right was dormant. Now the right is radicalized as well. That's perfect timing to create that scenario that you're looking for, because people will beg for it's the Hegelian dialect, right? Make everything tranny and gay.
James Lindsay. I wish he had not used the word woke right. I'm not a fan of Jim's woke right lingo, because it gets confounded. It gets blended together with woke left, and I think I think they're different enough. You needed some other term, but maybe what he's trying to do is point out is they're really one and the same.
Yeah. Well, it's the way we are. Like, look at the analogy I give is that 5 years ago, every conspiracy theorist on the right was fearing three things: a cashless society, digital money, and AI. That was like, we can't have these things. And now our president, who they voted for, I voted for, he comes in day one. We're going to be the AI and digital currency capital of the world, and they all cheered. What changed in 5 years? What changed?
I know, and the stable coin shit. Oh my God.
Surveillance money, and we're cheering for it. But it does have good things. It does move us away from the Fed to the Treasury. There are good things there. It's not innovative technology at all, but it's just a debt vacuum for short-term debt to control the yield curve.
That's what it is. The article today, by the way, where there was an article that said that the number of treasuries in the Caymans is way bigger than they thought.
Yes.
I couldn't tell. So I saw that article and I didn't think too hard about it, because I said, well, that means there's people with bigger bank accounts in the Caymans than we thought. But I didn't realize they'd lost track of those treasuries.
Yes. Well, it's because everything's dark money there.
Right.
It's all private LLC. A friend of mine, Scott's been talking about this for a few days.
I knew that, but I still thought that we knew how many treasuries were issued. But apparently it actually changes the treasury count.
Yeah.
Somehow. It's about 5% of the treasuries. I mean, it's.
Do you know how much cash is estimated in the Cayman Islands right now? How much buying power is in the Cayman Islands?
I do not know.
$20 trillion. 20 trillion.
I'm told that's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's Panama Pandora paper combo platter right there.
Well, Silicon Valley Bank went under because they couldn't come up with 51 billion.
Right.
51 billion. So you have a group of people who.
Hey, wait a minute. Let's clarify that. And they're criticized because they bought too many treasuries.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? What a great story. I go, oh yeah, what a bunch of reckless wild men buying treasuries with bank money, right?
The most boring, reliable investment over the last 50 years.
Except for the fact that when they drop interest rates to zero, and then they buy the treasuries, and then they spike the rates.
Yep, and it absolutely kills the triple beam. But think of that. Think of the mounted assault that could happen against America with $20 trillion just in the Caymans. That doesn't include Malta, any of the other places. Just the Cayman Islands, 20 trillion unregulated dollars that have no KYC.
So who do you think are the owners of those 20 trillion?
Well, I mean, everything reverts back to papal families, Medici's. You can go into the Rothschilds, of course, but then you have the new oligarchs. Because Dave, what my opinion of where we're going, and God could always wave his hand and change things, but the standard, I think we're moving from this two-party system into some version of Christian nationalism, which any Christian should be against. We should have nothing to do with politics. So
it'll become a two religion system or something.
Well, it'll be orchestrated under a technocratic monarchy, and I think that saying is controversial to some people. But guys, let's be realistic.
Patrick Wood. Have you interviewed Patrick Wood? Does his story make sense?
I don't even know who he is.
He wrote a book on technocracy.
You know that term has been around since the 30s, by the way. There used to be a magazine called Technocracy.
Right. And Patrick Wood is one who sort of resurrected the idea that that's what's happening.
Well, it's absolutely it's unstoppable too. They're never going to unplug.
What's interesting is how popular it got in the 30s when there wasn't even that much tech part of technocracy, right?
Exactly the point.
Right.
Been planned long ago. But yeah, Patrick Wood, I'll reach out to him. I don't know who that is, but it's unavoidable. I mean, we have millions of migrants that they're testing surveillance on. I guarantee they're chipping them at stations right now. I don't think they're leaving the country. I mean, our deportation numbers are anemic. We are at half capacity.
What about self-deportation? Are those all lies too?
Prove it. Prove to me.
I recognize that that's an impossible figure to get.
Where did they get the money for a flight back to their own country?
Yeah,
right?
How many planes did it take to fly 1.5 million refugees home?
Yeah.
How did they get home? What
on
train?
Commercial flights?
What rental cars? Did they walk back? Was there a big? I don't remember people climbing over the wall and walking across the Rio Grande the other way.
It's just it's also clowny.
I hadn't even thought of that. That I don't think. What's the total capacity of the U.S. air system? What's the total number of flights per day?
You know, I mean, you need thousands of flights per, because they said it all happened in 30. Oh, Trump came in, they scared him, they all went home in 30 days. Really?
So
I can't organize a vacation in 6 months.
Flight, 1.5 million. That's a lot of flights.
That's every seat on every commercial airliner for a month, pretty much every vacant seat, right? Like, think of your last vacation. It takes a month to plan it, and then a couple days to book it, and then you go. But all of a sudden, 1 million, 2 million people just found their way home. Just
so what they're saying is we should have invested in Priceline.com.
Yeah. Well, they didn't announce that one, so that'll come with the next tariff announcement. Will be plain tariff.
Maybe they had a special coupon offer or something.
Yeah. Either way, maybe we paid for that too, and they're not telling us that. But the self-deportation
means 1.5 million self-deportations. It is a fascinating. How do you get them home?
Yeah.
Because we saw floods of them coming across the border.
And what home do they go to, Dave? They left their home years ago. Where are they returning to?
Yeah,
what are they returning to?
I don't know.
These are questions that people aren't asking.
Stopping. If they got to Mexico, let's say hypothetically they got to Mexico, what's Mexico do with 1.5 million people?
Yeah. Where's the video of them? Where's the video of them walking back home across the border? Doesn't exist.
Yeah, through the Darien Gap, eating scraps that were left over from the trip up.
Used rape kits that they're picking up along the way. I mean,
used rape kits.
These are just ridiculous things.
Stranded children, right?
Or the other thing, the H-1B visa thing, right? Like, we're going to end H-1B visa with this $100,000 bounty. If you read the document, it's for 1 year for a select class. Nothing. I live in Texas. We're flooded with Indian H-1B visas. They are literally everywhere in Texas. Nothing.
Well, the other really stupid thing is if we are going to import businesses manufacturing back to the United States, there has to be someone here to do it.
Yeah.
And the idea, so for example, you say you're going to build a new microchip factory, some gigantic microchip factory for $500 billion or something. You go, who's going to build that?
Yeah. Well, I think that's part of the reason they were brought here.
Workers have the skill to build it who are currently twiddling their thumbs.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm in the data center business. You need general construction crews, and then you have the engineers that come in as specialists, and we have plenty of them here. 63% of our computer science degrees can't find a job for 18 months. 63% of new graduates with computer science.
Is that a new problem?
No, it's been around for about 4 years now, but 63% is the highest unemployment rate for 18 months. I'll give you a recommendation. If you want jobs data, I would follow, her title is the jobs chick, Amanda Goodall. I've had her on here a few times. She is by far the most reliable source of data in the jobs market, by far.
Amanda Goodall.
Yes, she's incredible.
Is she on Twitter?
She's on Twitter, the job chick on Twitter. And she actually makes phone calls and pulls through data and has her own models and all these unusual ways.
I'm doing a podcast tomorrow with Ferris and Melody Wright. One of the things that's been bugging the shit out of me is if I walk around Ithaca, I can see what looks like must be 10,000 apartment units that have been constructed in fairly recently. And Ithaca is a burb.
Yeah.
And the question is, where are the occupants for these 10,000 units going to come from?
Good question. And we have it in Texas too. A lot of big apartment complexes.
So I got to figure these guys built it on the lot. Build it, they will come. And this bus could be epic.
Yeah.
Epic.
Yeah. So I don't see. Personally, I mean, I know that there's the staunch right that Trump's gonna I don't see it. Like, I go by what my eyes see. I think that's the best way to view things. I don't see any deportation trains here in Texas, and we're like the home of illegals. We have been the home of illegals, us in California, for decades. I haven't seen a single Border Patrol person north of the border. ICE, haven't seen it myself. These big apartment complexes are being built everywhere.
Have you interviewed J.J. Carroll?
I have not, no.
J.J. Carroll would do an interview, and he is the guy who started life as a 25-year veteran of border guarding. And then I got to know him a little bit. And then I think I teed him up with an interview with someone. I can't remember who did it. And then he got more and more serious. And he did a couple documentaries, but he morphed from being a sort of a border guard, what the hell's going on with these imports, to total New World Order guy, and total, trafficking and the whole thing, right? And so I was chatting with a guy who did one of his documentaries, Ryan Mata.
I know Ryan, yeah.
And Ryan, and I said that to Ryan in an exchange. I said, JJ has transformed very quickly here. And he says, oh my God. Ryan was just emphatic. He said, I watched it in real time.
Wow.
So you might.
Ryan's great.
JJ. Yeah.
I got to get Ryan on here too.
I'd love to hear Ryan, because I've never heard Ryan actually do an interview.
He'll do one with me. I'll call him.
No. He probably does them, but they've not come across my field of view yet. And I did a podcast with JJ at one point, and then he interviewed Juliet Engel, survivor of child trafficking, for about 2 hours. And then I was on a Zoom call with her, and I reached out to him and tried to compare some notes as to what we both extracted from Juliet Engel. And
you think she's authentic?
She, I hesitate to question it, because one of the horrible things about the trafficked women is just to not acknowledge what they've been through. Nick Bryant says that he has found, in his experience, very few liars in the group.
That's not something you'd have to be real ugly inside to lie about that. Right.
And so the default setting should be to believe in that case, I think.
I agree.
And again, you can't listen to them and hear factual errors and say, therefore she's not legit.
Right.
Because they are loaded. At one point, I tried to ask her, I said, memories are notoriously difficult to retain. Yes. They say that we remember the memory after a while, and it gets so distorted. And I said, and of course, now she's assembling them, right? It's a totally different problem.
Yes.
And I asked her, I said, do you have, I tried to very delicately, I said, do you have some mechanism by which you can sort through them to try to make sense of them, try to figure out which ones are really legit and which ones are too distorted to be useful? And she got defensive very quickly. And I really tried to ask it with sincerity and honesty. And she's probably been challenged so many times.
Yeah.
So I just, quickly backed away and said, okay.
Yeah, that's a tough scenario to be in. Tough conversation.
Well, the other thing that's amazing is you hear about how many people get trafficked, and you hear it on CNN, right? You hear it on Fox. You hear it on. They talk about the number of kids who came across the southern border. And the question I love to ask is, have you ever heard about who's receiving these kids?
Exactly.
You never, besides the NGOs, those NGOs, those big warehouses of kids that with manifests and everything, right? With names and, employee numbers and all sorts of stuff. I don't know if they're real, but they certainly, if they're real, they're horrible. But you never see a recipient. Once in a while, you'll read about traffickers getting caught. Once in a while, you'll read without any details about pervs. What was it that just the other day, Patel made some reference to rescuing 5,400 kids?
Yeah.
From whom?
Exactly. And who is their boss above them? Because the people with the children aren't in charge. Who's above them?
No, the traffickers they're just mules.
Yep.
So the question is, who's receiving them? Now, Ted Gunderson. I think he's legit. He's dead. So there's that. But he was supposedly shortlisted to run the FBI at one point, and then he turned dark. started talking about this stuff. And by the way, he shows up in the Sons of Sam book.
That's right. That's right.
And I remember thinking, oh, there's Ted Gunderson showing up, just sort of as not even getting emphasized, right? He just happens to be one of the players.
Yep.
Yeah, just a cameo in the plot. But he said that back in the 1990s, he said that a blonde-haired, blue-eyed kid, which by the way comes from, I don't know, Ukraine, or Romania.
Romania. I was just gonna say that.
I know. You start speaking in punchlines after a while. Brings $50,000 on the open market. These are not going to pervs, archetypal pervs in trailer parks. I don't want to pick on people who live in trailer parks. Don't take me wrong in that, but
right.
The archetypal perv does live in a trailer park, in part because when you become a sex criminal, you end up grouping in trailer parks because no one will let you in their neighborhood. For reasons that are unknown to me. Why wouldn't you want your kids living with the pervs?
But the devil masquerades as an angel of light.
I know. So in any event, so you never find out where these kids go. And the official numbers by organizations that profess to take care of the children when I actually think they're trafficking them are huge.
Gigantic. Huge budgets.
Like the Clinton Foundation.
Yeah, huge. Proven. Like this shouldn't even be a conspiracy theory anymore.
Proven. It's not. I actually got a famous Army intel guy to confirm that one. I knew it. I already knew the answer, but I was kind of testing him. And he said, oh, absolutely. They absolutely traffic children.
It's disgusting.
And then it gets to the question of what do the Podestas and the Clintons, what have they done?
Yeah. And what are they doing to remain? Oh,
yeah. Did we ever chat about the JFK Jr. Leno show?
Not yet.
So JFK Jr. is on Leno. You can find it on YouTube. Just go search JFK Jr.
I've seen the interview. Yeah.
Okay. And they're heading for something that they obviously plan on talking about in advance. So it wasn't just spontaneous, like you and I. And they start talking about a poem of a 9-year-old girl. And JFK Jr. pulls this thing out of his pocket, and they're kind of laughing. This is 97, I think. You'll know what year it is based on what I'm about to tell you. He pulls this poem out of his pocket, and he says, oh, I am so going to go to hell for reading this thing. But it's a poem by a 9-year-old girl. Now, you're going to understand what this poem means in the first sentence. She starts out saying, I am a very yummy 9-year-old girl. And you go, oh boy, red flag. She said, I am yummy in a weird way. Oh my God, red flag number 2. It says, think of me as a piece of dough with all the toppings. Ugh. Right? So it's over now. That's it. Game over. They act like they don't seem to know what they're reading. That poem was written by Monica Lewinsky.
Really?
Did that just change did that just change a major chapter in history?
Yes. I don't remember that part.
It doesn't get any press. Huh. So now
dough with toppings. That's the pizza party. Then you have pizza.
Oh my God, yes. Oh my God, yes.
Wow. I wish my camera worked so you could see the look on my face right now.
I could feel your positive energy of goodness. So now when you say, okay, now what was the Lewinsky scandal about? Oh my God, you got to completely throw away the plot.
Oh, that breaks so many different things.
At some point, I was listening to someone. Maybe it was Jerome Corsi, who I've gotten to know a little bit. He's in my Zoom group. Maybe not. I don't know. Someone talked about her being transferred to the Defense Department. I go, she was an intern. What does transfer to the Defense Department mean?
I got to get in this Zoom group. This sounds awesome. I've heard that as well. I've heard she was transferred to the department.
I could probably get you in the Zoom group.
Let's do it.
And they're always looking for a fresh face. I've given talks to the Zoom group myself. So my first, I think it might even be my first day in the Zoom group. So this is Doctors for COVID Ethics. That's how it started, but it has expanded into unbelievable different directions, including parliamentarians from Britain, from Sweden. The first one of the very first ones I was on was JFK Jr.
Wow.
And he started out by talking about how there's no chance in hell Sirhan killed his father.
No, RFK, you mean RFK Jr.?
RFK, yeah. And then we had Senator Ron Johnson. And I remember someone saying, well, should we just do this and this and this? And Ron Johnson says, you have no idea what you're up against here.
Wow.
And we had Andrew Bridgen and I can't remember the Swedish woman's name. And I said to her, I said, clarify something. According to news coming across the pond, Sweden is now the most dangerous country in Europe. Is that right? And she said, yeah, that is correct.
Once the safest place on earth. Yeah.
Safest place on earth is that country of just penguins. It's not Snake Island. You ever seen Snake Island?
Yes.
Oh boy, that's creepy. That's the stuff of nightmares right there. I said we should drop Fauci off there. I'll
pay for the flight.
So the Zoom group, and I've given the talk several times. One was on finance, one was on trafficking. I gave a 2.5 hour talk on trafficking. About 2 hours in, one of the guys who runs it says, my friend named so-and-so, I can't remember the name, who's CIA, is going to drop in about 5 minutes. I go, what?
Oh,
he
boy.
goes, yeah.
Never mind. I don't want to be part of the Zoom group.
No. And I think he says, no, I've done it for 25 years and he's a good guy. So I finished talking about trafficking. He shows up and ostensibly has not been listening. And he starts talking and it's like an answer key. And at some point they started asking us questions and we were comparing notes. And he one of the things he says, look, you're not going to stop the trafficking.
Yeah.
Because probably 20% of the CIA their job is to traffic.
Ugh. Horrific.
Right.
And you can't stop it. How can you not stop it?
You can't stop it. No, it never will be stopped.
I mean, it's been going on since the dawn of time.
That's right. And then just odd things like I was on a call the other day and I got someone to boot up pictures of Rosalind Carter, right? The Rosalind Carter, Jimmy Carter fame. And there's a picture first with Rosalind Carter with John Wayne Gacy. And you go, yeah, there's a pair you don't expect to see together.
Ever.
And then there's a picture of her with Reverend Jim Jones.
Wow. Talk about a weird dinner party.
And anyone who's listening to this, you Google this shit, just search Rosalind Carter, John Wayne Gacy, and there she is sitting there with them. Several different places, not just once. Not like they were at one dinner party. Several pictures of Rosalind Carter with John Wayne Gacy, who, for those who are somehow been living under a rock, killed, 30 guys and buried them in his basement.
Yeah. And
then Reverend Jim Jones managed to massacre, 500?
Yep. With the Kool-Aid.
I remember vividly waking up in grad school to the radio that had turned on to wake me up. And they're talking about getting to Jonestown and what they're finding.
And she's hanging out with these two.
Yes.
Wow.
And so then the question is, what the hell's going on? And your model is as good as any. And that's the whole world is so screwed up.
Yep.
Unimaginably screwed up.
You do not get to these positions of power and influence without succumbing to the club. It's just.
That's right. They don't corrupt you. They don't corrupt powerful people. They corrupt people and then give them power.
That's right.
That's the critical distinction. So this Zoom group, we had a couple of former generals on it, like 80-year-old generals. And one of them mentioned a guy named Janda. And I was aware of Janda. And I said, wait a minute. You guys know Janda? And they go, yeah. And I said, is he a good guy? And they go, yeah, he's a really good guy. Janda was undersecretary of something to do with health in, I think it was the Bush administration. And he does this interview and he is talking about in this interview how he gets taken out to lunch his first week on the job inside the Beltway. And the guy says, and whatever you do not go to a private dinner, a private party. He says, even if it's at the vice president's house, that was said. And Janice says to the guy who says this, why? And they said, because you will wake up in the morning in a fog with a Polaroid clipped to your shirt with you naked with a 5-year-old.
Wow.
Then I realized at that moment, and it was a horrific awakening for me, because I go, they don't have to corrupt you. They simply have to slip something in your drink.
That's right. Diddy.
That's right. That's exactly right. Boy, they had to wrap up that problem fast, didn't they?
Yeah, it's just like everyone else. Like we get fed these like piecemeal. Oh, we're going after Comey for what? For lying to Congress? That's like the least of his
exactly,
crimes.
exactly. They've got. By the way, Jerome Corsi wrote a brilliant book about the Russiagate and the treasonous behavior. He got deposed personally for about 40 hours because they were convinced that he was somehow tied to Assange. And they said you're gonna go to prison for the rest of your life if you don't, cop a plea and testify against Trump and whatever. He said, I didn't do it. I refused to do it. While he's telling us the story in the Zoom group, I'm fact checking him and I'm finding articles in CNN about Corsi, articles saying, will Corsi testify, that sort of thing. So Corsi's a genius and he knows everybody. And he says, by the way, all the banks are involved in laundering and trafficking.
1,000%. Yes. 1,000%. And that's why there's 20 trillion in assets in the Cayman Islands.
That's exactly right. So it's not just HSBC, aka BCCI, right? It's way, 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 way more than that.
Yeah, things are so much worse than we realize, and that's the reality of things.
And the question I like to ask is, when was the last person of great wealth and power ever put in prison?
Never. Not that I can remember ever.
Denny Hastert, Speaker of the House. He must have pissed off someone. He got caught with young children.
Of course.
Of course, it's the cockroach theory. There's others. He must have pissed off someone. One of the guy from Illinois got put in jail for stealing $27,000.
Yeah.
Posted. No, the one before him, actually. There was one before him who got for stealing posted. Blagojevich got totally framed.
Totally framed.
Best I can tell.
Worst haircut ever, too. Terrible haircut.
Yeah, kind of an ugly John Travolta.
That's an oxymoron, in my opinion.
Uglier John Travolta.
There you go.
I would. This is why people who are good don't want to go there. It rips your soul out, to use a religious term.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's common theory. Like, I talk to people from all over the place, and you hear about all these people who are elected and they're like the greatest person in the world. And they don't return anyone's calls for months. They come back to their district and no one recognizes them. Like, I've heard that story so many times, which is why I don't really care much about politics anymore.
Well, I have a friend who said his grandfather got scooped up.
Really?
And he doesn't know anything about it. He says grandma's not that interested in talking about it, but apparently he went to some hospital somewhere, probably at McGill. Again, only the sickos know what the hell that's about.
Yeah.
And he disappeared for 2 years.
Came back totally different.
Totally different, total mess. PTSD, whatever, whole 9 yards.
Did he give any stories?
No. My friend, put it this way, my friend didn't know anything about it. And did we talk about? There's so many of these stories. Did we talk about Elizabeth Nixon, who I bet would do an interview with you?
No.
Elizabeth Nixon, Nickson on Twitter. I actually, just by chance, as of yesterday, have her email. She is former Time Magazine European division head, former Life Magazine American division head, or vice versa, one of those two, right? Big in publishing. She's doing a podcast with a friend of mine named Jim Kunstler. And in the middle of, and he's telling me this story on a podcast. So I went back and listened to the podcast he's talking about, but he's telling me this story. And Jim doesn't fall down rabbit holes easily. He's a doubter. And so he's interviewing her, and all of a sudden she starts talking about how her mother was a victim of MK Ultra. So Jim's telling me about this podcast from the previous week that he had, and he said she was in a hospital in Canada. I said, yeah, McGill University in Montreal. Yep. And he goes, How did you know that?
How'd you know?
Because that's you and Cameron. That's where they all are, right? That's where they did all the real bad stuff in Canada. And he was surprised by that. And then she says she quit her job and studied MK Ultra. And all of a sudden she starts, and I'd been on this thread, so this was really interesting to me.
Yeah, you've been on it for a while too.
She starts talking about how Kamala Harris.
Oh yeah, we did talk about that last interview. Yes.
And
yeah, we did.
Kamala Harris has got all the traits, and I've been bird dogging that one in part thanks to Candace Owens.
Sure.
And I think Kamala Harris was a Manchurian candidate who she just couldn't hold their marbles together enough to win anything.
Until proven elsewise, I'm going to assume every candidate is a Manchurian candidate. Until real results are shown, I'm going to assume that because it just makes me feel safe at night.
Douglas McGregor, and I remember
Who's
this now, who is awesome. I'd like to meet him. And I remember this because it's a topic I'm thinking about. He paraphrased someone else who said this, but he said, every election we vote for someone and we end up with John McCain.
That's pretty accurate.
And the reason I thought of it is because Cindy McCain is one of the ones who attacked me from my Tucker interview.
Really?
And I'm going after Cindy McCain too. Mark Levin, Ted Cruz, Cindy McCain, and Laura Loomer.
All shills.
All shills. And some guys who have addresses, obviously, in Haifa or something. I don't know. But
Tel Aviv Levin is the worst. He's absolutely the worst.
I describe Levin as a rabid bobcat in heat.
Yeah.
He would not have a job if he wasn't pro-Israel.
That's right. 100%.
I mean,
he would not. No one would buy his books. Nothing.
No, he's awful. Now, the good news was a week before he attacked me, I tweeted how awful he was. So they can't say, look, you're pissed because your butt hurt.
Right. Oh, he's just awful.
He's
straight up awful.
But he does what he has to do to keep his job.
Yeah. Well, that's the system. Here's your role. Keep your role tight, and you'll continue to get paid.
Right.
There's no way he believes any of this stuff.
Colbert, they couldn't sell anymore.
No.
Colbert had become insufferable.
He's still insufferable. He's always. I think he's always been insufferable.
He has. But in previous gigs, you got him in small doses.
He was, as a sidekick, he was funny.
Right. It worked because it was like this character.
He's a good Robin, terrible Batman.
Right. Right. Good Robin, terrible Batman. And he became truly insufferable. He'll never live down the dancing vaccines.
Oh yeah, with the syringes dancing behind him. I mean, it was just.
And did you watch the time that he had Stewart on and Stewart outed the Wuhan lab?
Yeah.
Colbert was climbing the walls trying to figure out a way to shut down Stewart. And the problem is he knows he can't.
Right. No,
he keeps trying. He goes, "There's nothing that's going to shut down Jon Stewart when he gets out of when he picks a topic."
Well, that's when he makes money too. That's how that's how the shock jock works, right? Like if you put the shock out there, people listen, you get more ad revenue. But the dialectic is being put in place. I mean, you can see it play. I see. That's all I see anymore is dialectic. I just see good cop, bad cop in everything that I'm watching. And somewhere in the middle is the truth. Somewhere, maybe, if we can find it. But Dave, I got to wrap this up here, man. I got to get back to work. This has been incredible as always.
Send me a link.
Absolutely. I gotta edit these two things together. Sorry for my camera. I think the wire overheated. We've been recording so long. I'm just used to like half hour to an hour.
I think the bad guys got it.
It started right when we started with Charlie. Like that was the Charlie guy. They don't want to hear the other side of the story, just the martyr side. But Dave, always a pleasure.
That is a weird story though. Yeah. Okay. It's fun.
Absolutely. Dave, thank you so much, man. Thank you for being on here. And as always, for everybody, God bless you. God bless this country. We'll see you next time on The Rice Report.